Here we are, days away from Super Bowl 57. Welcome aboard. I mean, I agree. Who said this? The longest 2 weeks of the NFL season. Has it not been? I mean, Steve, I'm with you. This has just been dragging out here. It's getting a little bit quicker now, but the storylines are going to be sensational. I can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. By the way, let's get it out of the way here. Herm Edwards will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Now, he's got a cool perspective. He is a former Kansas City Chief head coach, and he's a former Eagle legend. Where do his loyalties lie? Who's he pulling for this Sunday? Can't wait, man. And also, Philly 500. Fans' perspective. That'll be in hour number 2 at 4:30. Till then, we take your thoughts. And look, the one thing that we do here on our program, we look at both sides of the aisle here, and we kind of just throw, gratuitous stats at you. Is it going to be a factor? But by the way, I'm going to say this to you. How much do you think Super Bowl experience plays a factor in a game like this on Sunday? Brady and the Patriots and Belichick had all that experience in 2017. Did it matter? I don't think it did. How about when the Cowboys beat the Bills in the Super Bowl? Didn't the Bills have all the Super Bowl experience? Did it matter? No. I think that's overrated. I think the best team wins. Best team wins, man. Andy Reid's 1-4 in Super Bowls. So should we look at that and go like this? Well, Reid hasn't been very, very good in the Super Bowls. Does that play any factor in Sunday? I don't know. I think it doesn't matter. I think that's a media conversation. Well, hey, Mahomes and the Chiefs have all the Super Bowl experience. I don't think it matters. You really think that, Nick Foles had a ton of playoff experience when he outplayed Brady or when Doug outcoached Belichick? Did it have any bearing in that game whatsoever that the Eagles had not been to the Super Bowl and the Patriots had been to a ton of them? I don't think it had any impact at all, right? I don't think it had any impact. So for me, I look at it and I go like this. I think that's just like a made-up media conversation. I really don't think it matters. Okay? I don't think it has any bearing whatsoever. Now, I want to throw some stats at you before we get into the topics here. The Eagles are ranked, Tone, correct me if I'm wrong here. The Eagles ranked first in pass defense this year, right? They ranked first in pass defense. During the regular season, the Eagles played against just 5 teams ranked in the top half of the league offensively. Okay? That's it. Only 5 teams. And the other teams that were ranked in the top 5, they scored 30 points on them. They scored 30 points on them. So are those numbers true? Because they really didn't play against a high-powered offense this year. So when you say you're the top pass defense, I mean, I think this is sometimes why people look at the Eagles and look at the Eagle defense and go, are they really who they are? Look at the playoff quarterbacks. Okay? Daniel Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Those were the quarterbacks that were in the postseason. You're not going to get a true test of who that offense was or who they are with those quarterbacks. You're just not. Or the David Mills. And again, I'm not indicting them. I'm just pointing out. Okay? I'm just pointing out. Again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying when you dive more into the stats, and that's what we do with 2 weeks. You dive more into the stats, there were really 5 teams that they played against that were in the top echelon of the league, and those teams scored 30 points on the defense. So are they who they are? Look, the pass rushing, you can't get away from that number. 80 sacks is spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular. Okay? So again, I'm looking at the defense going, is that defense really going to be able to contain Patrick Mahomes? By the way, we've got some things, and we're going to get to them here in a second, when it comes to what I think has to happen in this football game. Before we do that, obviously the conversation after the season and after the Super Bowl is going to come down to Jalen Hurts and his contract negotiations. And I keep hearing people say, well, Jalen's going to give the Eagles a discount. My friends, he's already given you a discount. He's played MVP football, and he's made no money. So you want him to take an additional discount? He makes 1.3. He's the 710th highest paid player in the league. I mean, there's only 1,700 guys in the league. What more of a discount do you want him to take? I don't think he's going to take any discount. Why should he? He gave the Eagles a discount for the last couple of years here. That's right, Neil, I agree. This is your discount year. This is your discount. He's making $1.3 million. That's a discount. You want him to do it again? Man, for even a critic like me on him, I don't want him to do it. I don't want him to take one dime less. This is a discount year. Yeah, but tone goes like this. Well, next year will be a discount year too. Not if they give him the extension, because then the bonus kicks in. Okay? Your bonus will kick in. Because if they cut the deal this year in the offseason here, signing bonus, you got to pay the signing bonus out. So if they sign Jalen to a 3-year contract with $50 million guaranteed or $70 million guaranteed, they got to pay him that money in the offseason here. Okay? You're going to send Jalen Hurts into the 2023 regular season making $1.4 million bucks? Man, that's pretty cheesy if you do that, especially if they end up winning the game on Sunday. So to me, and I'm going to make a point to you on something. If I'm the Eagles, do you guys agree with this? If you're the Eagles, don't you get this deal done before Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow? I'd want to get this deal done first. I don't want those guys setting the market, because then it's going to cost you $50 million. I'd pay him right away. I'd tell Jalen Hurts, here's $45 million. Let's move forward. Let's do a 3-year contract, and then we'll renegotiate it as we go on. By the way, you know what you could always do to that extension? You can always add another year. You know where else you're going to get a discount? Don't let this thing get closer to March 12th. And don't let Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow get their deals done before. Because then Clutch Sports is going to go, well, look what he got. They're already going to go, look what Kyler Murray got. So I would say this if I was Howie. Hey, I know that there's so many issues in free agency that you've got to get to, but I would say this, let's get this deal done immediately. Because if the Eagles draw this thing out and let this thing play out, Joe Burrow gets $50 million. Say Lamar gets $51 million. Well, why wouldn't Jalen Hurts demand $50 million? I would get the deal done immediately. Super Bowl lands, get the parade, get the guys in the room, get Clutch Sports up and say, let's go. Let's get this thing done as quick as possible. Dude, let Jalen set the market, not Burrow. Burrow's going to command $55 million a year. Don't let those guys set the market for 2023, because you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to match that. Because look, watch this. You could always turn around and go like this. They just paid Lamar Jackson in Baltimore $51 million. Why doesn't my guy get it? Right? If I'm Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, you need to be the first people up to the plate when it comes to negotiations. Worrying about James Bradbury and worrying about Kaiser White and TJ Edwards and Isaac Seumalo and Miles Sanders is secondary. That's right, Neil. The longer you wait, the more money it's going to cost you. Look at what happened in Dallas with Dak Prescott. Be the first. You might get a $5 million discount because Burrow and the rest of them guys may get $50, $55 million. Shit, you might get a $10 million discount when it comes to market value. Be the first guys up. And by the way, Clutch is going to want to drag this out a little bit to see what Lamar gets. You know for a fact that both parties, and here's the advantage that they have over Lamar. Lamar's mom's his agent. Dude, you need to be the first people to the plate. In my opinion, when it comes to negotiating with Jalen, don't wait till March 12th or past, because then it's going to cost you more dough. It's going to cost you more dough here. All right. I wrote down 6 things. And the biggest question marks heading into Super Bowl 57. And here they are. This is both sides. And you tell me if you agree, okay? Here's number 1. Can the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? This is going to be essential. We were just talking, Tone and I, before the show started here. This is going to be a trench war game. This is going to be won in the trenches. You know what? I know it sounds like a cliche, but this is reality for every football game, and especially every good football game. Who's got the better fronts? Okay? Can the Chiefs O-line? You don't have to stop them, but you have to slow them down. How do you slow them down? Screen game, middle screens, delayed screens. They've got a great screen game, and they've got athletic backs that can catch the ball. The Eagles have no screen game. The Chiefs have a screen game, and they've got talented kids that are essential in that screen game. If I were Jonathan Gannon, because he plays that flex / soft zone defense, that's something that I'd be concerned about, because what happens in the screen game? You got to play tighter to the ball. The screen game will bring the linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage too, because you'll want to get a head start on the screen game. Middle screens, flat screens, delayed screens, as I said. But that also then puts you one-on-one with Kelsey. So keep an eye on that. The Chiefs O-line, they have to slow down that pass rush. Okay? They have to slow down that pass rush. Number 2. Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offense? Bosa didn't. Micah Parsons didn't. I'll tell you something that I went back and looked pretty much at almost all the games against top-flight defensive linemen. I would say the Eagles handled every single top-flight defensive football player and pass rusher the entire season. If you want to give kudos to the offense, you know, it's one thing to handle Justin Jefferson. It's another thing to consistently shut down Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, and now you're getting Chris Jones. Look at what they did to the defensive tackle with the Giants, Dexter Lawrence. I didn't even hear him. I never heard his name. Actually, I never heard his name. I know he was hurt for one of the games, but I didn't hear his name ever in an Eagle game. Simmons with the Titans. I thought they shut him down there too, Jeffrey Simmons. They did such a great job. That's right, Dank. All those names, Dank, they handled every one of them. Why would I not think that they're not going to be able to handle Chris Jones? Chris Jones has had a great year. 15 and a half sacks, no question about it. Top defensive interior lineman in the league. Great. Okay. Well, they handled Bosa well. They handled Simmons well. I mean, Chris Jones has to be a disruptor for them to have a chance to win this game. Number 3, and I know some of you don't agree here, and Seth Joyner doesn't agree. Can Hurts raise the level of play? He's not played well. He's not played well in the postseason. Okay, he's been below average. Can he raise his game in the Super Bowl? Again, I think it's a product of him being hurt. It's not his ability. I think it's a product of him being hurt. Okay, I do. But he hasn't really played at a high level. And see what Rocksteady says? That's such a great advantage when your quarterback doesn't play well and you can still put 31 points on someone. Very few teams in the NFL can rely on that. Your like if Mahomes doesn't play well against the Eagles can put 50 points on him. If Jalen Hurts doesn't play well, it's going to be a close game. That's the difference in teams and in the rosters right now, in my opinion. He doesn't have to play well, but if he raises his level, it raises the level of the Eagles like they were in September and October. Be very tough to beat Philly if Jalen Hurts raises his level of play. And he looks like he did in September and October. If he looks like that Jalen Hurts, man, could be a long day for the Chiefs. Can Mahomes continue elite play on an injured ankle? That's going to be another one. So far, here's your 4. I got a couple more here. Can the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offensive line? Can Hurts raise his level of play? Can Mahomes continue elite play on an injured ankle? You know, the Chief offense, to me, how about this? Let's do this. Let's do this here. And I know the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, but why do I look at Cincinnati and I look at Buffalo, and I thought that would have been a tougher matchup for Philly. And I look at the Chiefs, and they're the lesser of those 3 teams. Why do I look at Kansas City and go, I think they're the lesser of those teams? And yet here they are. It's the play of the quarterback, and he's injured. You know, today he reported that he's feeling pretty good and that he's going to he's in a really good place right now. Okay? I'm with you, William. I think the Chiefs wide receivers are just dudes. Has it made it a more effective offense, a more efficient offense? I guess so. There's a ton of guys with 500 yards receiving on that team. He has totally spread it around. But there's not a game breaker on that team. I wouldn't consider the tight end a game breaker. You know, there's nobody. See, here's the one thing, too, if you're Jonathan Gannon, why I would play tighter in defense here. Dude, you're worried about Tyreek Hill beating you deep. Is there anybody on that Kansas City team that you're concerned about that will beat you deep? Kansas City hasn't beaten anybody deep all year. Why would you go into this game concerned about that when Gannon goes into every game and he's concerned about that? Here, there's no Justin Jefferson. There's no Tyreek Hill. There's nothing on. Dude, if somebody beats a Jonathan Gannon defensive play call in this game, it's because it's a broken defensive coverage. That's the only way Kansas City gets behind these guys. The Eagles have more talent, in my opinion, to cover the passing game than what Kansas City has to throw at them. I don't see the advantage that Kansas City has in their wideouts outside of Kelsey with the 110 catches. They don't have anybody on that team that threatens them deep. Press them more. Get up in their face. Get him off rhythm. He's injured. If you bump him and you jam him at the line of scrimmage, that may get your guys home too. If I'm Jonathan Gannon, I want to see how healthy he is right away. Don't you? If he's not healthy, there's no way they can win. Because nobody's threatening them deep. He's got to move around in the pocket to get away from the pass rush. I want to threaten them, test them. Okay? Jesse goes, Seals, do you believe Mahomes is close to 100%? No. I think he's probably around 90. I think he's around 90%. Probably 90%, somewhere in there. By the way, just so you know, Jess, I think Jalen Hurts is around 70%. 75%. I think he's worse off than Mahomes. Both quarterbacks coming in. Dude, it wouldn't shock me if you see the backups take a couple snaps in this game for either team. Both guys are injured going in, okay? Both guys are injured. I want to see if Mahomes could play elite on his injured wheel. Here's another one. And I wrote these down this morning because I went back and looked at all the playoff games. Is this a fair statement about the Eagles going into this game for Sunday? Will A.J. Brown have a breakout playoff game? Has he had over 40 yards in any game? Has he been a factor at all in the postseason? No. He's not been a factor. This guy's a 1,500-yard receiver. Will he have a breakout game? He has not been a factor at all. Okay? He's not been a factor. So, I mean, Josh says that Jalen's been overthrowing him. Okay? Okay? And 91, I'm not saying that Jalen's going to be out of the game. Wouldn't shock me if the Eagles put a lot of pressure on Mahomes and he gets knocked out for a couple plays, especially if he's not healthy. Doesn't always mean I'm talking about Jalen, 91. Could mean Mahomes. Henny has played over the last couple weeks for the Chiefs, just keeping score here. How do you guys know I'm talking about Jalen Hurts missing time in the game? You're assuming that. Okay? You're assuming that. 91, right? Can you imagine having both backups, man? Holy cow. I do not want to see that. Here's the other one. As I just said about the Chiefs, who's going to step up offensively for Kansas City? Okay, who's going to step up? Kansas City has to get a big-time performance. And to me, if Juju Smith-Schuster has a big game or one of those running backs, do you guys remember, what was the name of that kid? Some of you might be too young. You guys remember that guy, Tim Smith, that had over 200 yards rushing? I think it was the Doug Williams Super Bowl in San Diego when they beat Denver, and he had 200 yards rushing. Guy never had another game in his life ever like that, ever in his life. Okay? He never had a game like that ever again. You guys remember that running back? Tim Smith with the Washington Redskins back in the day? Had like 200 yards. I mean, nobody saw him. Nobody knew who he was, but he had this. I think his name was Tim Smith, if I'm not mistaken. It was like Tim Smith or something. He had this monster game. And everyone was like, who's that? I personally think, okay, Kansas City has to have a guy like that to beat the Eagles. I think they've got to have a guy like that to be able to beat the Eagles defense. Because if they don't, can Kelsey carry that team? Well, then again, it's Kelsey and the O-line. Okay? So here are my takeaways for this game. I think these are the questions. Can the Chiefs O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? Let me answer that. Can the Chiefs O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? I don't think so. I'm going to say no to that. Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offense? I'm going to say no to that. You know why? The Eagle offensive line has handled every single top-flight defensive player that they've played. You know who hey, guys, would you agree with this? The guy who probably had the most success against the Eagle O-line was a rookie, Aiden Hutchinson, in week 1. Didn't he have a couple sacks? I thought he had a couple sacks in that game. I mean, the only guy that I can think of that put any kind of pressure on the quarterback was Aiden Hutchinson. Other than that, I think they even handled Lawrence. They handled Parsons. Okay? No sacks, but big plays, Josh. Okay, I thought he had a couple sacks in the game. Okay? But Hutchinson, I thought, played well in that game against the Eagles. The rest of them, they've handled them. So can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagle offensive line? I'm going to say no. Don't forget, Herm Edwards is going to join us in a couple minutes, the former Eagle legend and Kansas City Chief head football coach. Can Hurts raise his level of play? I think he will. The big question is going to be, okay, the big question, in my opinion, I think it's going to be how healthy he is and what they ask him to do. Tone says no sacks, only one assisted tackle. Hurts was killing him, breaking the pocket from the blitz. I thought he played well in the game, though. I thought he played well. Okay. Can Mahomes continue elite play in an injured ankle? I'm going to say yes, because I think he's going to be healthier. Okay. He was a disruptor, right? I mean, he was getting into backfield. But again, Tone, I'm not saying that he played exceptional. I'm saying I thought he was the only guy that flashed for me of all the defensive players that they played against this year. I think Mahomes is going to play better because he's healthier. Okay? I do. I think he's going to play at an elite level. Seals, are you predicting a Birds win? 31-17. I don't see anything else. Okay? 31-17, Philly. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. I'm not going to change. Unless something else changes as we get closer to Sunday. A.J. Brown have a breakout game? Now, here, this is going to be one that I'm not sure of. I'm going to tell you why. So if the Eagles run the ball for 250 yards against the Chiefs, and I don't think they could stop the run, okay, you know, people are going like this. Sills, didn't you see what they did against Cincinnati's offensive line? Cincinnati's offensive line? You're comparing that to the Eagle O-line? You might want to take that. You might want to take that take back. The Eagles are like the elite group. The Bengals are kind of okay. So if Kansas City did a decent job stopping the run and Joe Mixon and them guys, is that a real big feat against 3 backup guys that were playing O-line in that AFC title game? I don't think so. Really, I agree with you, Andrew. I think that's a terrible take, man. Look what they did against the Bengals. The Bengals O-line is terrible. So A.J. Brown having a breakout game? I don't know. I don't think so. because I think they're going to, personally, but you got two rookies at the corner position. Got to threaten that. I think you got to. Now, is Jalen able to get the ball to him, though? I wonder how much restriction is going to be in that play calling with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen's going to let it all hang out. But I don't know if I want to put him in a position to throw the football if I don't have to. Like against the 49ers, they didn't have to throw the ball. They didn't. They ran the ball for 181 yards. They didn't have to. You're averaging 200 yards on the ground in your playoff games. Why would you bend away from that when that's been the dominant thing and your quarterback's been banged up? Rocksteady says no restrictions. Well, Jalen Hurts told Peter King that when he threw that ball in the Giant game, his arm almost fell off. I mean, those are from his words, not from mine. This is not a prediction. I'm not fortune telling this. Jalen said his arm almost fell off because the pain was so extreme. He told Peter King that, Monday Morning Quarterback. And you guys are sitting there telling me no restrictions? I don't know. I don't know. And the Pacheco kid you guys keep bringing up. Okay. I think he's good. And the kid they just activated, I think he's pretty good too. They're really good in the pass game. Okay? They're really good in the pass game. Look, Mahomes keeps this game close. He keeps this game close. No question about it. And so does Andy. This is going to be one of those football games where you're looking at a really great roster and you're looking at an elite quarterback, one of the generational quarterbacks, and you're looking at a coach that you have here with one of the greatest play callers there is. The only thing I'll say to you one more time is that stuff when people say Super Bowl experience, I think it's overrated. When the Cowboys beat up the Bills, they were the youngest team in the league when they beat the Bills up and they crushed them in the Super Bowl. Nick Foles and Doug Peterson against Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is probably one of the most experienced Super Bowl coaches of all time. And you were going against the GOAT. Didn't seem to be experience was a factor in that game. Let's get a guy that played in a Super Bowl, and I wonder where his allegiance are. A Philadelphia icon and former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's done it all. Broadcaster, college football, pro football. He's one of the really great people in broadcasting and in sports and in football. He is our friend, Herm Edwards. He joins us now. Coach, how you doing, my friend? Coach, we can't hear you. You're muted. Still muted, Coach. Not now. See if we can work this in here. Tone, see if we can work on this here a little bit here. Let's see if we could try it now. Coach, you there? Can't hear you, Coach. See if we can get him here. Man, Coach Edwards, what I love about Coach Edwards, he just got through coaching Arizona State, so he wanted to go and try to coach some college kids. Did a really fine job there. Didn't work out in the end. Obviously, the NIL programs, the transfer rule, it is so difficult if you don't have a top-flight program right now. Now he's back into broadcasting. Was a coach with Tony Dungy in Tampa when Coach Dungy was turning that program around. You know, and I talk to John Lynch about this all the time. They started out 0-8. By the way, we tried to get Coach Dungy on, but he's on an airplane today, so he's heading out to Phoenix. And we were talking to him, and we were saying, what was that like? You had Mike Tomlin on the coaching staff. You had Raheem Morris on the coaching staff. Let's see if we can get Coach now. Coach, how you doing?
Can you hear me now?
I got you, Coach.
Goodness gracious, man. Okay, brother.
How you doing, Coach? I appreciate you doing this for us here.
My
Coach,
pleasure.
I tell you, I was telling people this. Man, you've done it all, man. You've coached college, you've coached professional, you've been an assistant coach, you've been on some of the best coaching staffs of all time. And on top of that, as a player, you've been to it. What is it like when you're preparing for one of these games, Coach? Take us back when you were getting ready to play in the Super Bowl. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I think like any experience when you're in the playoffs, except you just feel like we're good, we're practicing, I get it. But the week that you arrive, I think is an entirely different matter. How you handle that is very important as a player. Because of all the requests, and all of a sudden your old aunties and uncles are calling you. You hadn't heard for in 30 years, right? And Auntie Louise got some grandkids and it's just all this stuff, man. And you gotta understand, you gotta have some order, along with, I gotta practice. All of a sudden it becomes like, wow. Right? You want to be left alone about the third day. You're done. It's like, hey man, I just want to try to focus in on this game. And then I think the thing that hits you, if you never played in this one, is when you go out in the pregame warm-up, for the first 5 minutes, you can't breathe. It's like, whoa, what is this, right? Because you're so excited, right? You can't breathe. It's like, wow, you're taking this all in. And the stadium is mute. It's not like a championship game. Because the championship game, if you're at home, the crowd gives you energy, and you're just kind of sitting in this place, and you're looking around, you're going, man, we're in the Super Bowl. And then the reality hits when you ask yourself this question: if we win, I'm a world's champion, and if we don't, I just lost the Super Bowl. And am I ever going to get back here again? Everybody thinks they are. Well, I'll go back. We played in Super Bowl 15. I was in 3 championship games, 2 as a coach, 1 as a player when we beat the Dallas Cowboys. The other 2, Joe Montana get knocked out. When I'm with Kansas City, we lose to Buffalo, they go. When I'm with Tampa with Tony, we lose to the Rams go. 35 years, 1 Super Bowl. And a lot of good teams. It's hard. It's hard to get there.
Coach, how much was it so too that Dallas game, you guys had put so much in, and to this day, outside of the 2017 Super Bowl win against the Patriots, that has to be arguably one of the top 3 moments in Eagle history, is when you beat the Cowboys for the NFC Championship. You built all that up, Coach, and you know this, at any level, there's always potentially an opportunity at a letdown when you get into the next game. Did you feel a little bit of that in that Super Bowl?
We were, and Dick will tell you this, we probably over-prepared. We over-prepared. We should have beat the Raiders. They beat us, rightly so.
Josh said that last week.
But here again, we didn't give ourselves a chance in the beginning. We turned the ball over 2 or 3 times, and it's 17-0 before we could turn around, get out of the first quarter, right? And then we were trying to climb back in the game, and it just never added up. But we beat the Raiders on Tuesday and Wednesday in practice, but it didn't count then. It started on Sunday. And here's the uniqueness of this. Dick Vermeil was our coach, great man, love him. I love the man. When they beat us, and I was with Tampa, with the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, I can remember crossing the field and hugging Coach. And I looked him in the eye and said, Coach, go win it for the guys. And he knew what that meant. It wasn't for the Rams. This was for the Eagle team that he took there. Go win it for the guys. That's all I told him. And he looked at me and says, I know what you're talking about. I said, okay. And we left it at that. And they ended up winning, which was great.
Coach, how much do you think that 81 Super Bowl helped him in the Super Bowl that he won? When he because as you know, Coach was like the old school coach. We're going to have 3 days. We're going to do this shit. 2 days during Super Bowl, all that. Was he a better coach, you think, in St. Louis?
No doubt. And he said that. He learned a lesson from the first one. Because I knew we were in trouble on Thursday night. When we were in the room studying our game plan and the Raiders were still on Bourbon Street, I said, we're in trouble, boys. We could be in trouble.
All right, Coach, tell me the uniqueness of the fan bases, because you were a head coach for the Chiefs and you played for the Eagles. Is there similarities? Is there differences? What's that experience like?
There's similarities. I think when you go to a Chiefs game, because it's almost like a college atmosphere. Everyone wears red. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It's beautiful. Stadium is gorgeous. Philadelphia is different. And you know what? I'm so glad I played for the Philadelphia Eagles, because the thing you realize.
See if we can get Coach back here in a second here. See, I love that, man. He just goes like this. He goes, hey, it's a college atmosphere in Kansas City, right? In Philly, it's different. I don't know how many people constantly say that. We're going to reconnect here with Coach here in a second here. It's different. Philly, man, to me, that's a merit badge. Okay? That's a merit badge, man, that you get when you're talking that kind of stuff. When people always look at your fan base. I'm going to say this to you, too. What people are telling me in Phoenix, my daughter goes to school at Grand Canyon University. And she's saying right now, Philly fans are showing up big time out in Phoenix right now. And they're everywhere. And they're showing up to all the bars. They're showing up to all the NFL events and such. So they're rolling in right now to Philadelphia. I thought it was interesting, though, what he said, too, when he's talking about, playing for these two great – because I don't think you can have any better fan bases that are in the Super Bowl than Chiefs and Eagles. I just don't. I think these are what the NFL talks about all the time with their great fans. And Coach, you were talking about, like, it's different in Philly. Why?
Yes. When you play for the Eagles, the fans expect this. You have to play hard. I mean, the passion of that city for their sports town, for their teams, is unbelievable. And if you play hard, even if you don't win sometimes, you're going to get booed. We get that. But they love you for it. Can you imagine the year we went, everyone was in the championship game? The Eagles, the Flyers, the Phillies, and the Sixers. All four of us at one time. First time in the history that ever happened. And, we were really close. All the teams and the players were really close to each other. We went to each other's games, the whole 9 yards. But it's just different. I grew up on the West Coast, and all of a sudden you find yourself in Philadelphia, and you go, wow, this is interesting, right? And as much as people say they boo you and stuff, that's just part of the deal. You get it. But I wouldn't have played anywhere else. I loved it there.
I'll tell you, Coach, I get so much crap from the Eagle fans because the majority of my audience is the Philadelphia Eagles, and the majority of my fans are Eagle fans. But I'll tell you what, they show up every day. They give you a ton of crap. They let you know what you're thinking about. And at the end of the day, though, they're some of the most intelligent fans that you could possibly have when you're talking about, like, a great fan base. So we're having a little difficulty here connecting with Coach, and hopefully we're able to reconnect here a little bit here with him. But so wait a minute. So let me get this right. So in the year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl against the Raiders, the first Super Bowl, so the Flyers were in the playoffs, the Phillies were in the playoffs, the Sixers had Dr. J and Malone, right? So that's got to be the greatest year. But then again, they didn't win. No, I don't think any team won. No, because they didn't win a cup. I'm not sure if they did or not. If any of those teams won a championship that particular year. But so all those teams all made and went all into the finals. Man, That is what you talk about with a great sports season. That's kind of stuff that we saw a little bit up in Boston. Tampa's kind of going through a little bit of that right now. 1980 Flyers won 35 games in a row. That was a great Flyers team too, man. If I'm not mistaken, too, the Sixers, they had Malone, right? And Dr. J, too, on that. Vlad goes, I wouldn't respect you. Let's see here. Phillies were great. The Phillies did. That's right. Phillies won that year. That's right. That's the Carlton year. Phillies won that season. Right. That's the Rose year when Pete and those guys. That's right. Tug McGraw. That's right. He closed the game out. That's right. McGraw comes over from the Mets, and he was the closer that season for the Phillies. That's right. They won the World Series that year. That's right, man. What a great year in sports. Philly had in 81, man. That's pretty 80-81. That's pretty dope, man. Hopefully we're able to reconnect here with Coach and get his thoughts here a little bit on the game. I'd love to get his comments. Also on Jalen Hurts here, too. See what he says about, too, Andy Reid. Look, again, I think these two football teams getting ready to play. I think the Eagles play their ball game, and they go out continuing to play Eagle football. I think this is going to be a very difficult task here for Kansas City to try to slow that pass rush down. Like we said, at the top of the program here, I look at here with the Chiefs. I think this thing comes down. Tone and I were both talking here, and we were both saying this is going to come down again to the trenches here, okay? This is going to come down to the trenches here. This is going to come down to whether or not Kansas City can slow down that pass rush. And how you slow down that pass rush, in my opinion, if you slow Kelsey down and Kelsey can't get off the line of scrimmage, I think they're going to have all kinds of issues because to me, watch this. Guys, do you actually think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to beat James Bradbury or Darius Slay? I don't think they're going to beat them. Okay? You don't have the skilled guys at the perimeter, in my opinion, to threaten the Eagles. Hey, Dan, who'd you pick in 17, Eagles or Patriots? I picked the Patriots. I didn't think a backup quarterback could beat Tom Brady. Brian, I just didn't. I didn't think he could. Okay? I didn't think he could. I didn't think he could. Elite says dual threat. Well, dual threat hasn't played very well in the postseason so far. Then again, he hasn't had to. Fly goes, I even picked the Patriots. Sills, I read that the majority of the fans going to the Super Bowl are Eagle fans. I'm telling you right now, my daughter goes to school in Phoenix, and she's telling me Eagle fans are everywhere right now. They're rolling in today. And my daughter said that they were out shopping at a grocery store, and they go, Eagle fans are everywhere, and they're all wearing their gear. And they're like right in the heart of Phoenix, their college, and they said that they're everywhere. Chiefs are going to run a lot of chips and screens. Yes, Kenzo, I think that's the only way they get a chance to win this ball game. Okay, I do. I think that's the only way they win this ball game is if their screen game's going well. They have a great screen game. Ayuk getting open shows you that DBs aren't as good as you think. Vlad, I said this. We opened the show with this too. They only played against 5 teams that had offenses that were in like the upper echelon of the league. They have not played against really a lot of great offenses this year. So who really are the Eagles? Especially when you take a look at the high percentage completions that a lot of the quarterbacks from week 11 had going into the playoffs. A lot of quarterbacks had a lot of success against them percentage-wise. And they were able to complete a lot of passes. Dak Prescott ate them alive. Put a 40-burger on them, 357 yards. So, again, no question about it. Hey, Coach.
I'm back, I think. Can you hear me?
I sure can, Coach.
All right, sorry.
Coach, your take on Jalen Hurts' play this year. Just give me your thoughts on him.
Became a better passer, to make it plain and simple. When you think about his first year compared to right now where he's at, his accuracy downfield, I thought was just outstanding, right? His ability to sit in the pocket and throw the ball. You know, we knew he was a runner, very talented athlete, but I just thought he has really put himself in position now to be a complete quarterback, and he did that this year. He doesn't get hurt. I mean, he's battling Mahomes for the MVP, but obviously got hurt. Mahomes probably going to be the MVP, rightly so. But I just think the way he's played with the ball in his hand, doesn't make a lot of errors with the ball, right? And it can beat you both ways. You know, this RPO deal it's hard. It makes it 11-on-11 football. And when you think about the 49ers, what they weren't willing to do was take the safety out of the middle of the field, because, you know, you're short a guy. You're going to be short a guy defensively when it's 11-on-11. Someone has to account for the quarterback. And I thought in that game when Philadelphia went trips and ran the ball back to the weak side, they were short a guy because the safety wasn't coming out of the middle. They were afraid. Why? Because RPO, he takes it out. You got no free safety. Now the post is wide open, right? So it becomes a little bit of a tough deal defensively.
Coach, do you think you can – I asked Jimmy Johnson a couple weeks ago this question. Let me ask you this. Do you think that you can build a franchise around an RPO coach, a player,
quarterback,
and a dual threat guy when they're constantly hurt?
Yeah, well, we say that, you know, but I say this. If you look at the league now compared to when I played, you know, those quarterbacks couldn't play in our league. They weren't allowed to play. They switched their position, right? They said, we're too good of an athlete, can't play. Now you see a lot of these young coordinators that are coming from college programs. They have brought that offense to the National Football League. Here again, and the owners were scared to death. Well, I'm going to pay this quarterback all this money, and now you're going to get him hurt. I don't think that's the case anymore. I do think there's probably a shorter shelf life for a guy like that. And so you always have to have a backup plan of, okay, we got to get another guy. This guy only might last 5 or 6 years. He might be done. Or he becomes the quarterback that stays in the pocket. You know, this is the golden rule quarterback. Young guys always run at quarterback when they don't know what to do, right? When they get older, they figure out what to do. They don't want to get hit. They stay in the pocket.
Coach, you bring such a great point up, and I don't want to make it race, but I said this. One of the reasons you're seeing all these super young coordinators, when you played and when I played, man, guys like Charlie Ward were not welcomed in the league because that dual threat guy, if you weren't a drop back guy, you weren't playing. If you were an option quarterback, you weren't given a chance. You think that's why we see more young coordinators fitting these boutique offenses to the skill set of the players more so than what you and I did. No disrespect to North Turner and Ernie Zampese and those guys, but those guys are set in their ways. These guys are not set in their ways, and they're going to fit an offense to these guys.
Well, you make a great point. And I think even taking one step further is that some offensive coordinators want structure. This is the structure. This is how you play quarterback. Other coordinators are, I want a little structure, but we let you have free recess. You go do what you got to do now, right? And that's where the rub becomes. Are you a coordinator that wants structure? You stick to the script, or do I let the quarterback get off script? Now, when he gets off script, some things can happen. You know, he can make some big plays and he can turn the ball over some, but you got to live with that. And I think there's this way coordinators look at that, right? I mean, Shanahan is a guy, he wants to stay on script. He wants a quarterback to run the offense. He's going to call a game where you ain't got anything to worry about. You're going to have to make 5 big throws. Other than that, you're going to get it out of your hand. Guys going to catch it and run. Buffalo, okay, they got a guy. You can get off script. You're going to throw some interceptions, but you're going to win a lot of games too. Who's the coach, right?
So it matters because, Coach, watch this. These RPOs that Jalen runs, you got to have a lot of trust in your quarterback because he's not really calling. Shane Steichen's not really calling the play. It's Jalen's decision-making,
Right.
whether or not to keep it, pull it, block and release to the tight end. You've got to have a lot. And you know what, Coach? A lot of coaches may find themselves a little bit of an ego issue there because you've got to really rely on that kid and his decision-making to make that play work, because RPO is not a design play.
No.
It's a design option for the quarterback. I mean, is that tough for certain head coaches to not have those guardrails?
Yeah. They want a guy to stay in structure. And you can look at the teams that have structured quarterbacks that stay in structure. It's not that they can't have success. They'll have some success. But to let him have free recess and let him run the game when you call RPO, it's like, oh, wait a minute now. And, you know, and that's what you got to live with. But the league, we're seeing more of that in the league. And it's a problem for defenses.
Coach, Jimmy Johnson said this and made this comparison on what Andy Reid's doing with Mahomes. He said this: when you look at Patrick Mahomes, and I think you broached this a little too. When you look at Mahomes, he's kind of like Barry Sanders, and Jalen's kind of like Emmitt Smith. And he means it this way. You got to learn to live with mistakes that this kid's going to make. And he's going to go like this: minus yards, a 75-yard touchdown pass. Whereas with Emmitt, it's 5 yards, 8 yards, 9 yards. You look up, it's 25 carries, 158, no minus yardage. And that's kind of Jalen in a nutshell. Is that kind of how you see both these quarterbacks?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you got to live with, like you said, you got to live with it in the fact that, hey, look, this is part of the deal. And the key is this to all of it. It's okay to have some minus plays. Just don't turn the ball over. That's what you can't live with. When they start turning it over now, you giving that other guy an extra possession or two, now you got problems. You know, and that's the whole quarterback position at the end. I've always said this, I always tell the quarterback this before the game starts. Only way the opponent gets the ball is kicking. If you kick it to him, we're good. If you kick it to him, just think about the time you kick the ball. You know, good things happen. We scored a touchdown. We're going for the point after. We punted it. It's okay. Long as you kick it, we're going to be fine.
Couple last questions for you here, Coach. You know, I throw this out at people all the time. People threw this at me the other day. They go, Andy Reid's 1-4 in Super Bowls. And I went like this. Okay, well, do you think Marty Schottenheimer was a bad coach? And people go, well, he was 4-14. And I go, do you know he never had a losing season in 25 years of coaching? I mean, I don't know about you. He won 206 football games. That's a great football coach, okay? Now, maybe did he overcook it in the postseason a little? Probably. But still, to sit there and – how do you look at Andy's career?
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer. He's taking 2 teams to Super Bowl. Whether he wins or not, he just takes 2. I mean, wins, losses, get counted all that, but he's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. I mean, but this is what's great about sports, right? There's always the debate. You throw the question out there. Some people go one way, some people go the other side. All I say is no. It's easy for someone else to try to live in a person's shoes, right? When you don't live in the shoes. You got all these comments. But when you got to live in the shoes and walk the walk, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt.
Usually people, Coach, I tell people that criticize other people's legacies don't have a legacy of their own. So, I mean.
Isn't that the truth?
That's usually that guy there. Hey, Coach, before I let you go here, did you enjoy your college experience?
I did.
Coaching?
Oh, my God.
Coach, I have one bitch, though, with you.
Yes, you got.
Why'd you give the money back? Why, dude, I mean, why'd you give them? When I saw that, I said, Coach is such a good dude because he thinks it was probably unfinished business. And my daughter's at Grand Canyon there, and she's like, Dad, you friend. And I go, listen, he's the best guy you could ever be around. And I go, he gave the money back, though. Why?
It was the right thing to do, Coach. It's just right. Give it back to the program. Program's bigger than any coach. Always has been. That's just the way I was taught. You do what's right. Just do what's right. It's okay. I can't take it with me. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good, brother.
I know you're good, but I
mean, man, I've been blessed.
You have, Coach, and you're such a great dude. I mean, I'm talking to Coach Dungy today. So on that Buck staff, you had Mike Tomlin, Lovie Smith,
Rod Marinelli,
Raheem Morris,
Rod Marinelli.
Rod Marinelli, Monty Kiffin.
Yeah.
You had that. Coach, that had to be one of the best staffs you were ever on.
Well, that one was great. There's no doubt. And the one Marty had was good too. You know, Marty had Tony, myself, Bill Cowher, Bruce Arians.
Oh, Jesus.
We were all on that staff. Joe Pendry. We had Marty put together a good staff as well. We had some guys, you know. Yeah.
Coach, you're great people. Real quick, who do you see winning the game Sunday?
Oh, boy.
Oh, by the way, this is going to be a little bit of allegiance here because he's the former head coach of the Chiefs. They love him there. He's an Eagle legend. This got to be tough for you here.
It's tough in this sense. Both those organizations gave me an opportunity. One as a player and one as a first-time head coach, right? Or not a first-time head coach, but that was my first coaching job in the NFL was Kansas City when I was there with Marty on that staff, right? Love the Hunt family. I'm an Eagle Green, man. I'm an Eagle. You know, I mean, I'm always going to be an Eagle my whole life. So this is a tough one. I'm just kind of sitting here and kind of enjoying it and going, I'm in good shape, kind of, because whatever happens, I got a winner.
Whatever happens, Coach, you're going to be invited to either parade.
Yeah. I'll be in Bristol, man. I'll be in Bristol. I'm headed to Bristol.
Get your snowshoes on. Coach, I appreciate it.
Thank you
so much. I'll tell you what, Coach, you're a credit to the profession, broadcasting, coaching, human being.
Appreciate you.
Every guy loves you. I love you to death too, man. Whatever is next there, broadcasting, I'm just a huge Herm Edwards fan. Thank you, Coach.
God bless you, brother. Thank you. Enjoy the game now, huh?
You got it.
All
Legendary Herm Edwards. I appreciate you guys doing this. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Philly 500 is going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.
Why do millions of people every year from around the world visit Philly's Rocky statue?
You want to tell me the sky is burgundy with green stripes and yellow polka dots? I'll meet you on that. But you're never going to convince me Rocky is anything other than the pure greatness that it is. Never going to happen.
Join me, Paul Farber, for WHYY's The Statue. We're going on a journey to explore the biography of the Rocky statue. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
National Football Show, Philly 500, 4:30 Eastern Time. I'm going to make a proclamation to you guys. The 2022/23 Philadelphia Eagles are the greatest fourth and short football team in NFL history. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Have you ever seen a football team that dominates on fourth and short? I mean, well, how many times were they stopped this year? Once, twice? Right? Okay, I mean, are they the greatest fourth? Are they the greatest fourth and short? You know, Brian, I don't think they're just quarterback sneaks. It's like 4th and 3, 4th and 4. Patriots were great too with Brady, but those were 95% quarterback sneaks. This team, man, if it's 4th and 4, they're going for it. They don't believe you could stop the RPO. That is the true advantage of the RPO versus a drop back quarterback system. Okay? Right? Steve, thank you. I love Coach Edwards. He's one of my dearest friends. I have the greatest respect for him. He gave back $8 million to Arizona State. He gave $8 million back. Can you imagine that? Because he thought he didn't do a good enough job at the end. He gave $8 million back. Herm's a good people, man. He's a quality human being. Looks at everybody for face value and who they are. Knows people make mistakes in life. Coach Edwards is one of the greatest people I've ever met. He is so classy, man. And you heard what he said, too. I'm an Eagle, man. I'll always be an Eagle. That's great to hear. I love when players do that stuff, man. Okay? I love that. I do. Let me throw something at you here before we get to Andy Reid here. I want to get your guys' take on Andy Reid. This is a pretty interesting number here. Do you know that A.J. Brown accounts for 41.31% of the passing offense this year for the Eagles? Not quite half, but half of the passing offense went through A.J. Brown. Okay? There were really 3 dudes. Hey, and by the way, I mean, 700 yards for the tight end, 1,000 yards for the other wide receiver. This guy accounted for 41% of the passing. You talk about making a statement. It's not so much that he had to lead the NFL in pass catching yards, right? How about in the fact that look at what he's added to the offense from a year ago when everyone said this, the Eagles need a veteran wide receiver. You signed a guy and hired a guy and paid a guy who brought 41% increase to your offensive passing attack. The impact that that guy made on your passing game, I don't give a shit what you say. Now, look, granted, the impact that Tyreek Hill made on the Dolphins' passing game, there's no question. But the impact that that guy, watch this. I'm going to make this point to you. Who would you rather have in your offense in Philly, A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill? I'd rather have A.J. Brown. Who would you rather have? Can I tell you why I'd rather have A.J. Brown? Because A.J. Brown's not afraid to get into the run game because he learned it when he was in Tennessee blocking for Derrick Henry. This guy was knocking brothers out when he was in Tennessee. Tyreek Hill ain't knocking anybody out. They don't want that guy getting in front of linebackers or anyone else. AJ's not afraid of shit. That guy fits so well in Philly. It is one of the best trades for a wide receiver. Now watch this. Stephon Diggs to Buffalo. Was that impactful? Well, yeah, kind of, but they didn't make a Super Bowl. Devontae Adams. Was that impactful? Kind of, but not really. You think the Raiders got a massive impact with Devontae Adams? They didn't even make the playoffs. You signed Devontae Adams, didn't make the playoffs. You traded for A.J. Brown and made the Super Bowl. I don't know, man. 41% increase in your passing game, and you made the Super Bowl? Jesus criminy. He had the most impact of any player that was traded last year, of any guy in the league. Any guy, am I wrong when I say, give me another guy that was traded that you thought had a bigger impact than A.J. Brown in the league? Let me think. Nobody on Kansas City. So we already have a team. A guy, if he did have an impact, hasn't made a Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill, his football team made the playoffs, but this team made the Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill did not have more impact on a team than AJ did. Not happening. McCaffrey made the playoffs, didn't make the Super Bowl. AJ did. And he's 41% of your passing game. McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, those guys are great. Not like that. 41% of your passing attack goes through A.J. Brown, and your team made the Super Bowl. Give me another guy that had a bigger impact. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. Hey, and by the way, he's 25 years old. He's 25 years old. If you dive more into the numbers of A.J. Brown this year and look at what he brought to the team, watch this. A.J.'s kind of a version of Gronk. But at the wide receiver position, he's great in the run game. He puts up enormous numbers. He is a red zone nightmare, and his team's in the Super Bowl. That's the best trade that was made in the offseason of any NFL player. That doesn't get reported enough. Because you just don't look at, you're not breaking down the Eagle numbers and looking what impact that he had. And watch him in the run game. When you see guys, nobody touches you in the 49er game, that ain't just Jason Kelsey and Isaac Seumalo. That's the wideouts. And I'm not saying Devontae some blocking monster. I am saying AJ is, though. This guy is like Gronk at the wide receiver position. He's big. He's physical. I wouldn't want to have any other. Watch this. Sills, would you want Devontae Adams on the Eagles over AJ? No. Sills, would you want Stephon Diggs over AJ Brown on the Eagles? No. Would you want Tyreek Hill? No. Would you want Jamar Chase? No. I've already got a Jamar Chase. That's the beautiful thing about the Eagle wideouts. They're two different dudes. One's a skilled route runner. The other one's a monster. You got two completely – you see, you know what you have in Miami? Watch this, Yale. You know what you have in Miami? You got two dudes that mimic each other. It's like having two shooting guards on the same team playing at the same time. You got like duplicate players playing the same position. You get duplicate players in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in Miami. That's why it's not the same impact that you see in Philly. You get duplicate players. Duplicate players. Philly has one guy who's going to run you over and is a mismatch in the secondary, and the other guy's going to out-route you to death. And then you got a tight end running up the middle. Man, that's a tough-ass cover. That's a tough-ass cover. The Eagles had two completely different – how many teams actually – look, I would say Seattle has that with DK Metcalf. I would say, hey, watch this. Sills, would you rather have Deebo Samuel or A.J. Brown in Philly? No, I'd take A.J. I'm all right with A.J. 5 says your trip in Miami wide receivers are good, very dominant. They're not dominant. They got bounced in the postseason. Got no quarterback. Sorry, they're in the Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill did not go as far. And by the way, he almost had the same amount of numbers. Sorry. He's 41% of the offense, too. Passing. Tell you what, you take Tyreek and soft as molasses, and I'll take this guy who's a power. I want a power player on a power team. The Dolphins are a finesse team. Eagles would destroy that Miami Dolphin team. Destroy them. You can't run the ball against Philly. I don't care who you have playing the Y's and Z's. You're not beating them. You got to be able to run the ball. That's why I think Kansas City's in a tough one here. Okay? You got to be able to run the ball against Philly. Only teams that have had success this year against Philly are teams like the Saints running the ball. Shit, man. They put a 1962 freaking offense against the Eagles because they ran it with Taysom Hill. Tua's not reliable either. That's for damn sure. They got to move off that guy. You're not building a team around a guy who's there half the year. What about CeeDee Lamb with the Eagles, Dan? I don't think CeeDee Lamb is physical enough as AJ. I think A.J. Brown and DK – here are the physical wideouts that I think muscle you to death. Metcalf and A.J. Brown are the two guys that you want in a run-dominated team because they're still going to get their numbers. Dude, you got an RPO – you had an RPO quarterback. Get him 1,500 yards and 13 TDs this year. This guy here, he didn't have over 68 catches in Tennessee. He never put up more than 1,100 yards. He gets to Philly, and he's got 1,513 touchdowns. Now, he had something like that, I think, in year 2, touchdown-wise. But wide receiving numbers, they were pedestrian. They were pedestrian. I mean, Duck, the Saints used an offense that Barry Switzer used to beat the Eagles. If you can't run the ball against Philly, there's no chance of you winning. Kenzo, I don't think Debo's overrated. I think he's overused. Okay, I don't. So you're saying Jalen is a good passer to get AJ the ball? I'm saying he improved a lot. And that he targeted him 41%. Shit, man. Well, no. He's 41% of the offense. He probably targeted him half the time. If you're 41% of the offense passing numbers, you must have targeted him over 50% of the time. Okay? And for Devontae to get his numbers, that tells you how good he had to be because he wasn't going to get the looks that A.J. Brown is getting. He had to have been over 50% in the targets. Okay? Tone says that's why adding AJ was so important. Smith alone could only generate but so much offense because his style and type of body doesn't fit the scheme. But when you add AJ, Smith is more valuable and dangerous. Absolutely. He gets open. Because you have two dominant dudes, the tight end and AJ Brown. Devontae Smith runs around in that middle of that seam. This is why one of the areas that Jalen still has to improve on. How many times do you listen to the broadcast, Mike Quick saying, he's open, he's open, he's open. Mike Quick points that out a lot in the broadcast. Just listen to it. He points it out a ton. He's open, he's open, he's open. Get him the ball. But because he's targeting over half the targets to A.J. Brown, if A.J.'s not open, The RPO's there. He takes off running. That's why he's still not a progression reader. One guy got over 50% of the targets. Okay? He still has to improve on that. And I'm not saying he won't. Okay? And I'm not saying he won't. The stuff with Chris Sims, I don't get. Okay? It's one thing to be critical of what I just said. It's another thing to sit around going like this. Well, he's got the easiest job in the NFL. Okay, well, I don't know what that means exactly. You're pissed off because he has all these great gadgets to be able to go into a football game with and win. You should be celebrating that. This is one of the best Super Bowl rosters of all time. This is a team loaded. You know, the 17 team had great depth on it too. But I mean, really, watch this. Okay, Lane was there. Kelsey was there. Adai was there. Blunt was there. Those are functional, really good ball players in the red zone. Receivers were okay. The quarterback was a backup. He was a substitute teacher. Right? The tight end was good. Okay? His yards after catch sucked. Zach Ertz was terrible once he caught the ball. I've never seen a guy fall down more than Zach Ertz. Goddard's better. Goddard's a better player. Might not have the same hands. At least he has a nose for the end zone, though. Okay, at least he's trying to score every time. Zach Ertz was never trying to score. Catch the ball, fall down. Fletcher was spectacular in 17. Fletcher was spectacular. I love the Garrett Blunt, too. I loved him in Tampa. Tony Dungy spoke for him, and that's how he got on the Bucs. He had 1,000 yards in like 8 games. He was a beast there. I don't know how the Bucs let him roll out the window. By the way, Philly 500 is going to join us in a couple minutes. And Goddard can block. Zach Ertz, you know who he was kind of like? Again, another one of those Jason Witten dudes. You know, I mean, I look at Travis Kelce, and I say this to you, you guys are going to think I'm ridiculous when I say this. My kind of tight end is Dallas Goedert. He's like Mark Bavaro that can catch. You know what I mean? He's like Mark Bavaro that can catch and block. I like that guy. That's what made Gronk so good. If Gronk wasn't having a great game and Shazier was on him from the Steelers and he was shutting him down, Gronk would knock your ass off and he would knock your dick into dirt. He was a beast at the line of scrimmage. That's what this guy Goddard's like. GT goes Sills if healthy. Next year, does Hurts throw for 4K? No, because he won't be. He's going to miss games. And the Eagles are going to hold him out of games. At the end of the day, though, dude, it's just conversation. What's it matter if you're 14-3? You know what I mean? Who cares? You're 14-3 again next year, and he throws for 3,900 yards, 3,800 yards, has the same numbers he did a year ago. Who cares? Right? And he only misses 2 games. Dude, I think you guys got away with murder this year that he only missed 2 games, the way they played him. 15 yards a carry a game is out of hand. It's not sustainable. That has to be rectified in the offseason. And you're not going to rectify it in the offseason when you lose Miles Sanders. That number can't continue to rise. He won't make it. You're going to pay a quarterback that you're giving the ball 15 times a game to. That's got to come down. Okay, let's take a look. You know, I don't think it's 15 times a game. Okay, he had 170 carries. I'm just doing regular season, and he missed 2 games, right? 170 divided by 15. He's averaging 11 carries a game. That's got to come down. Running backs average that. Your quarterback is going to average 11 extra hits on the body. Man, That's why that O-line being as good as it is, not giving up a lot of sacks, means this: he's not taking a lot of hits in the bucket. You're lucky. Can you imagine if he had been sacked like 20 times, 25 times this year, and he took on 170 hits when he was running with the ball? I mean, that's a lot of contact. That's a lot of contact. You're going to pay $50 million to that? Dude, you're going to be without Hurts for a significant period of time. So far, that hasn't happened. You're lucky. You're lucky. And by the way, it's not just me saying that. Herm Edwards just said these guys don't have a high shelf life. He said it. Andrew Luck didn't have a high shelf life. Okay? Jesse goes, Humphrey or Kelsey? Come on, bro. You kidding me? Kelsey's having a spectacular year. I think Kelsey played better this year than he did a year ago, and I'm talking Jason Kelsey. Dominated at the point of attack. I think Isaac Seumalo's playing the best football that he's played all year long. Actually, you want to hear something even more insane? The Eagles, all 22, are playing in this game Sunday. All 22. That being said, let's bring my boy Philly 500 in. Super Bowl 57 is Sunday. Here you are, brother. I mean, hey, get this.
Here I am. Denzel Washington in the flesh.
Hey, get this. So my daughter's in Phoenix. She goes to school in Phoenix, right? She says that she was at the grocery store the other day, and she goes, hey, there's a ton of Philly fans. They're all wearing their gear.
I'm sure.
They've taken over Phoenix. Not a surprise.
No, not surprised at all. I expect it. I wouldn't expect anything less, my friend. I'm ready, Dan. I have nothing else to say. Like, I feel like we've talked and watched every possible thing I could watch. I just need this game to start. You know what I mean? I need it to go. I need to get going.
I've got a list of 6 things here.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you. You tell me.
All right.
I think these are the biggest question marks going into Super Bowl 57. I started my show off with this, and I'll ask you. Number 1, do you think the Chiefs' O-line can slow down the Eagle pass rush?
No.
Why?
I do not. Because, 1, I have not seen anybody all year long been able to do it. And I think the lack of run game is going to hurt the Chiefs. Because I think that I don't think the Eagles are worried about it. I don't think they're threatened by it. So I think it kind of gives you a step. It makes them a little more one-dimensional. Now, Patrick Mahomes can hurt you still, but I still think it makes them a little more one-dimensional.
Are you worried about their screen game?
Yeah, I worry about the screen game because Andy Reid has been very good, even when he was with the Eagles. Very good screen team. But I don't know, I think that screen would. I actually think the Eagles should use a screen game on the Chiefs because they're going to blitz a lot, and I think it would be open. But it's a concern, not that big of a concern.
See,
I don't know if we blitz
screens,
enough.
Delayed screens, they got the backs to make that. You see what they can do because of Reid and because of Mahomes. They can substitute a running attack with that because the quarterback. But again, I'm with you here. I don't believe that the Chiefs O-line. Look, the center's good. They got a good guard and they got a good tackle. But I just don't see enough up front. Here's number 2. Can Chris Jones disrupt the Eagles' offense?
It's a great question. He's a great player, but I'm gonna say the same thing almost in reverse here. And I'm going to say it is all year long, I have seen that offensive line pretty much shut down everybody put in front of it. So I have no reason to believe they're going to have any different problem with him. Look what they did with Bosa. Look what they've done with Parsons. Everybody that they've played against, they've had no problem with. So I don't think he's going to be able to disrupt it enough.
How about this too, Philly? I don't think this is being covered enough. Dexter Lawrence was a non-factor. He's an all-pro. Right. Jeffrey Simmons, the kid from Tennessee, all-pro. Right. Bosa, DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, all these guys all year long, they've stuffed them. Why would I believe Chris Jones is going to be any different in the middle of that line, disrupting him? I mean, he's, like you said, 15.5 sacks. He's probably the best interior player in the game this year. But why would I think any different when they have stuffed all these guys?
They've done it to everybody that they've gone against, and we've heard it every week. Oh, you're gonna have problems with Bosa. Oh, you're gonna have problems with Michael Parsons. Oh, it hasn't happened, so I don't think it's gonna happen now.
Number 3, can Hurts raise his level of play? And the reason I throw this in here, he hasn't had to have an exceptional game. I mean, that's and again, it's not so much a rip. I think it's a product of him being injured. But I say this to you. I go, I disagree with Seth. Seth disagrees with me. I think you're going to have to do more than 133 yards passing and 39 yards rushing to beat Kansas City Sunday. I think you're going to have to make some plays in the passing game to beat them or control them. I'm not saying he's going to have to throw for – I said this. If he throws for 250, Philly, and he has 75 yards rushing, I think they win 31-17, and I don't think this bitch is close. But if he has what he's done in the playoffs so far, I think it's a fourth quarter game. And you know what? Mahomes and Andy Reid with the game on the line in the fourth quarter. That's my only take on that.
I think Hurts just has to go do what Hurts has done all year. The playoffs.
But he hasn't done that lately.
I think in the playoffs, I think his passing game wasn't great, but he still didn't turn over the ball. He's not turning over the ball. He's not doing things like that. That's what is going to absolutely kill us. I will say this though, from like a gut standpoint, from what I know of Jalen Hurts, I think this is going to be his best game of his career. I think he's built for moments like this. So I think he's going to go out and do it.
Number 4, can Mahomes continue elite play on an injured ankle? Is that another storyline here? Because to me, if I'm Jonathan Gannon, do you bring pressure to test that early to see if he's healthy, or do you allow him like he's allowed other quarterbacks? I mean, they've allowed a lot of quarterbacks to have high percentages against that defense.
No, that's my nightmare scenario. Do not sit back and let him just have all day to throw and pick you apart. Do not do that. Do not give him too much respect. I say bring pressure, bring it early, hit him early. I think you got to hit Mahomes early. I think you got to hit him. You got to knock him around. You got to make him aware. Don't let him get comfortable. That's the one thing. I'm sure that Kansas City would have no problem. 4-yard pass here, 4-yard pass here, 3-yard pass, 3rd and 2 here, 3rd and 1 here, and go down, kill 7-8 minutes. I'm sure they would love that. I don't want to do it. I think you got to bring pressure. I think you got to be aggressive. Trust your corners. You got Darius Slay, James Bradbury. You got Avonte Max. Let these guys man up these receivers. They don't scare me. The only guy that scares me is Kelsey. I say bring pressure. Let's knock this guy's head off. I'm ready to go right now, Dan. I can't.
But to your point, that's one of the questions was down here is like, who will step up offensively for the Chiefs? And this kind of goes along with what you're saying. I mean, at the wide receiver position, they don't have Tyreek Hill to threaten you deep anymore. So Jonathan Gannon is always worried about the plus 25 play beating him. Dude, There's nobody on that roster that can beat Bradbury and Slay at the corner.
No.
Don't you press them so that you give your guys a chance more to get home?
That's what I would do. And you know what? I got to tell you, I think in the playoffs, and maybe some of it had to do with San Francisco's situation, but I thought Gannon has been way more aggressive in those 2 playoff games. And if he just continues to do that, I don't think that I think that's what you want. I don't want Mahomes 17-18 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. I don't want Mahomes to sit back and just pick the soft zone back and they're just keeping everything in front and it's just ball control through short passing game. I do not want that at all.
No, I don't want him in any kind of tempo.
No.
I mean, Mahomes is a tempo player, and I do not want him getting in any kind of tempo. Here's another one. Will A.J. Brown have a breakout playoff game? They haven't had him do anything. I mean, they've been very mediocre numbers. Now, again, they haven't had to, but you got 2 rookie corners. and you got A.J. Brown. I'm going to throw a stat at you here too, Philly. Do you know that he is 41.4% of the passing offense this year, which means he's had over 50% of the targets.
Wow.
I mean, the impact that this guy has had has been gargantuan when it comes to the number one trade in the offseason. Think about that. 41% of the passing offense went through him.
That's crazy because
it's third in the league.
Devontae Smith led the team in receptions. So Devontae Smith, I mean, that means he pretty much catches everything you throw his way. I think A.J. Brown's going to make an impact on this game. I don't know. I have a gut feeling Devontae's going off. I just got this feeling, Dan, Big Sills. I got a feeling about Devontae. But I think A.J. Brown's going to make a big play at some point that's going to make a big difference in this game.
I think the two tight ends in this game, I think that's the watch because to me, I don't believe the Eagles have anybody to cover Kelsey, and I don't believe the Chiefs have anybody to cover Dallas Goedert. And to me, it's going to be about getting the football in those two dudes' hands.
Yeah.
If Kelsey has a big game, okay, it'll be a close game. If he does it because they can't get a running game going, Philly, like I said, I find it hard to believe. And I know, Vegas knows something here because it's only 1.5. A lot of people I'm talking to are saying that double digit, this and that. And I think it is, but I don't know, man. Two tight ends key in this game.
I think Goddard is I think a big weapon for the Eagles. I think he's a safety blanket for Hurts. Kelsey is what scares me. He is literally what scares me. I'll ask this. I was thinking about this. Would you consider trying something different with Kelsey? Like maybe at times switch it up, put Chauncey Gardner on him. Let Chauncey cover him since you're playing man with your other guys. Maybe even throw Bradbury in there once in a while on passing situations. Like do something different because I don't think the linebackers can handle him at all. So
this is what I said yesterday. I think you double him. I think you pound him. I think you hit him.
Yeah.
I don't think you let him off the line of scrimmage. I think you run games at him. I think you do everything at him. Don't let him beat you because he can beat you. If you put the game in the hands of Juju Smith-Schuster, he's not beating you. If you let Kelsey get loose, he and Mahomes can beat you with Reed.
Right. I agree. He is the concern. That is
he's the concern. But the one thing that Kansas City doesn't have this year, and he put up big numbers, man, 110 catches, 1,400 yards. I get it, and I understand, and they're magnificent numbers. However, that team is a nickel and dime team. They're not going to beat you deep. That's not what they've done this year.
Right.
I'll throw this at you, too. I said this. Now, let's just go here. This is after you're drunk and you're sliding down a pole in Broad Street and you're doing all that.
If I climb up that pole, I'm not coming down. Let me tell you right now. If I get up, I ain't coming down.
How about this? If I'm Howie Roseman, I address the Jalen Hurts contract early because you know why? I do not want Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow to set the market because those guys are going to get $55 million. Lamar's deal on the table is already 51.3. If you're Howie, you go to them. I think Jalen would take 45. But if you sit around and wait and you don't address it and you let those other guys set the market, that's going to cost you probably $10 more million. Do you agree?
Yeah, but I think Jalen's better than Lamar Jackson right now. I mean, he brought his team to a Super Bowl. What has Lamar Jackson done in the playoffs? So if he's getting $51 million, and I'm Jalen Hurts' agent.
But what has he done in the playoffs?
Who?
Jalen
Hurts. He carried his team. He brought his team to Super Bowl, whether you like it or not. But he was the quarterback. He didn't blow the game. He didn't throw a fumble.
He hasn't. Listen, I don't think he's played. I think that they have not. He has not played well in the post. I thought it was okay in the Giant game. And I will say this to you: the 3 playoff games, How do you think Jalen Hurts, just your take, how do you think in the 3 games that he's played so far with Philly, how do you think he's played?
Well, the first one was a horrible game, but it's so hard for me to look at all 3 in totality because to me it's 2 different Jalen Hurts. The Jalen Hurts that we got this year is not the same guy as last year. And if you were talking about this year, I would say I thought he was good in the Giants game. I thought he was what we needed in the Niners game. The thing with the Niners game is if that's a 17-17 game in the fourth quarter, that's when he would have had the opportunity. There was no real opportunity for him to go out and win that game in the 49ers because Hassan Reddick just destroyed Purdy from the get-go. So, Jalen Hurts did what he had to do. I think Jalen Hurts, and what I'm trying to say is I think he can adapt to the situation that need to be at any time. I really believe it. Now, he missed a pass to A.J. Brown that was probably a touchdown, and he would like to have it back. But I just think Jalen Hurts is built for this. You know what I mean? I know he doesn't have the Josh Allen arm, the Mahomes arm, and what we could talk about, but I think this kid is a built winner, man. I think if it was a 17-7 game, let's say it was a tie game, fourth quarter versus the Niners, and he needed a drive and to make the throws, I believe he would have risen to the occasion. But it just hasn't. It didn't have to happen.
Last question for you. What line of the Eagles has the bigger impact in the game, D-line or O-line?
Man, that's a great question because if I had 2 keys, I would say for the Eagles is I think you have to establish some sort of run, and then you have to get pressure on Mahomes. I think I'm going to say the defensive line because I think that pressure on Mahomes, even if you don't have 6 sacks, but just making him uncomfortable will be the difference in this game. I really believe that.
So what are you doing for Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm streaming. I'm streaming. I'm going to be with everybody here on YouTube, pacing and cursing and yelling and nervous wreck, man. I'm streaming the game. So all you have to do is come to my channel. You can see what's going on.
I'm going to. By the way, are you going to be more nervous for this game than you were for the 17 game?
No. Probably not. I was so nervous for the 17 game. I was afraid that I was going to jinx it if I streamed. So I refused to stream the game. I didn't stream the game. And then when we won, I'm not lying, I didn't go to sleep for 3 days, Dan, because I thought it was a dream. I was so afraid I was going to wake up and be like, I'm dreaming. The fact that we got the first one out of the way, I'm going to be a little more relaxed. Now, I still think you got to win this game because this team is on the verge of being the best Eagles team I've ever seen. I think one of the better teams we've seen in a long time. And they got to finish the job. And if you don't finish the job, it's going to sting. This game could sting as bad as that Tampa Bay Eagles game. I saw you had Brad Johnson on the other day. I was driving me nuts because he kept talking about that championship game, which I still haven't recovered from. Like, that was the worst loss ever. So this would be up there with that.
That's what I said. I go, you lost hey, I love Brad. He's one of my boys. But hang on. You lost an NFC championship game to Brad Johnson?
Yeah. The last game at the vet.
Look at you.
I haven't. That's the greatest loss I've ever. I still have not recovered from that loss. To me, it was worse than losing the Super Bowl to Brady in 2004. We were supposed to win that game. We were supposed to go to the Super Bowl. We went up 7-0 in that game. And it looked like, oh, yeah, here we go again. We destroyed Tampa Bay every time we've played them. They're horrible. They don't win under 32 degrees. Everything's perfect, and you lose the game. I still haven't recovered from that. So,
hey, did you hear what he said at the end? That the Eagle management came down and told the Bucs they're the only team that has won the NFC on a away field. They told them, no, you're not closing the vet out, and you're not celebrating on the field. They had to celebrate in the locker room, those shitty locker rooms, because the Eagle management wouldn't allow them to celebrate.
I wonder if that was for their own safety. I mean, because the fans were taking seats and stuff from that game. They were taking the seats from the stands home with them. So maybe it was for their safety, but they closed the vet down with a win, and then they beat us on opening the link. So I just always that it still makes me sick, man. It does.
Philly, I'll be thinking of you on
Thank you,
Sunday,
man.
brother. Thank you so much, man. You're so awesome
Appreciate
when you
it.
come on the program.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday.
You too. Take care, man. Bye.
You got it. That's my boy, Philly 500. Please hit the like button. I'm going to ask you the question about the O-line, D-line. Who dominates more? I'll tell you who I think. We'll do that next. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.
Why do millions of people every year from around the world visit Philly's Rocky statue?
You want to tell me the sky is burgundy with green stripes and yellow polka dots? I'll meet you on that. But you're never going to convince me Rocky is anything other than the pure greatness that it is. Never going to happen.
Join me, Paul Farber, for WHYY's The Statue. We're going on a journey to explore the biography of the Rocky statue. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Delval Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you very much. All right. Who do you think has the bigger impact on Sunday? O-line, D-line for the Eagles. Gee, Paul, thank you so much. Dan, thanks for the season. Better do this just in case. Paul, thank you, man. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you, man. Very kind of you. Thank you. That's an honor for you to do that, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. That's very cool. Tone says offensive line. D-line has to have a big game. Is that a different question, though? Who has to have the game versus who do you think has? Well, I guess it's kind of the same. Because you're going against the best quarterback. You're going against the best quarterback in the game. So I would say that the D-line has to be the one that has to show up on Sunday. They have to show up. Charlie, thank you. They have to show up. You've got to get to Mahomes. Who needs to have the biggest impact versus who will have the biggest impact is different to me. It's different to me too. Because the D-line has to. Who will? You're right. They're too different. They're too different. They are. I think the Eagle offensive line is going to have a huge game. Because why would they not? Would this be considered the greatest O-line in Super Bowl era? No. Well, wait a minute. There's more Hall of Famers on the Eagle O-line than that Steve. The greatest O-lines, Langer, Little, and you had Kuchenberg. But Kuchenberg's not a Hall of Famer. Those Dolphin teams. The Cowboy teams, I can't think of any during the Landry era but one. The offensive tackle, Rayfield Wright. Was that his name? Remember Rayfield Wright was a tackle? I don't think there was another guy in that old line during the Landry Cowboys that made the Hall of Fame. You guys remember Rayfield Wright? Could this be the greatest offensive line in Super Bowl era history? Well, the Packers, they had wait a minute. Ringo didn't play in the Super Bowl for the Packers. It was Forrest Gregg, Jerry Kramer, and there were two. There's two on this team right now. The Hogs, Russ Grimm is the only Hall of Famer from the Hogs. Russ Grimm's the only one. There was one Hall of Famer on that Hogs line. Could this be the greatest? If they win their second Super Bowl, Cowboys with Jimmy had. I don't think Larry Allen was on that. They didn't have any Hall of Famers. Jonathan Ogden, no one else. Nobody from the Colts. Nobody from the Steelers. This could be the greatest offensive line in Super Bowl era history next to the Dolphin line. Yeri and one. The Vikings had two, but they lost. Patriots don't have any Hall of Fame offensive linemen. I'm talking offensive line. Then Jack Youngblood was better. This could be the greatest offensive line in Super Bowl era history. Surely in the salary cap era. This line is legit, dude. I think they're going to own the Chiefs. I just don't see it. I really don't. No, look, wait a minute. I'm trying to be fair here. Patriots have any guys that are going to go to the Hall of Fame? No. In the 20 years, how many Hall of Famers did Brady play with that won Super Bowls that are going to go to the Hall of Fame? Gronk? Gronk. Gronk is the only guy Brady played with in 20 years in New England that won a Super Bowl. That's going to the Hall of One. Richard Seymour. Nice. Richard Seymour. Gronk. Rodney Harrison's not going to the Hall of Fame. Not with 2 Pro Bowls. Brewski's not going to the Hall of Fame. I would never recommend him. Vince Wilfork might. He's on the ballot. He won't go this year, too. Vinatieri, so your kicker, a D lineman, and a tight end Brady played with. S. Blunt, once again, Brady never won a Super Bowl with Moss. He never won a Super Bowl with Randy Moss. Edelman's not going to the Hall of Fame. Okay? No Eagles had the best offensive line in the NFL's history when all said and done. There's nobody going to be 4 of them in the Hall of Fame. And Jason Peters is going to go to the Hall of Fame. So in theory, Lane Johnson, the 17 team is going to have 3 Hall of Famers off of it. Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey, and Lane Johnson. It's the greatest O-line in a 5-year span in the history of the league. Okay? It's pretty impressive. It's got to be. I think the offensive line is going to have a dominant game. Look, you have owned every team that you've played with. Maybe Revis gets to the Hall of Fame. Okay? Maybe he gets there. Okay? But Jason Peters, Lane Johnson, and Jason Kelsey off that 17 team. Now, I know that Peters didn't start in the Super Bowl, but you had 3 guys that are going to be Pro Football Hall of Famers. And the 2 guards that you have now are not shabby. All pro consideration with both of them. Whew. Man, your football team sucked out loud in the 70s or in the 90s and in the 80s when it came to O-line. Not now. The gold standard of O-line play in today's NFL is no longer in Pittsburgh. It's in Philly. The Eagles are the gold standard in how you produce offense. Watch this. You want to produce wide receivers? Pittsburgh Steelers do the best job of any team in the NFL of finding wideouts in all rounds. I don't know what it is. They find more great legendary wide receivers than any football team I've ever seen. Okay? Ever. But when you talk about O-line, the best O-line over the last 15 years have come out of Philly. It's the best unit. And for the record, it's probably why they've dominated the NFC East. Philly, you're the man. Thank you so much, dude. Thanks for having me on, Big Sills. I think this is the best O-line I've seen since those stinking Cowboys in the 90s. Barry is better than Emmett. Yeah. I like that. Philly's awesome, man. Thank you so much, Philly. That's so kind. You're so kind to us, man. He's got such a great show, too. And he finds time for us always to come aboard. Such a staple on our show. I'm glad we found each other. Broad Street Bullies. Hey, the modern day version of the Broad Street Bullies is in Philadelphia again, but it's just with the Eagles now. That O-line, hey, I'll tell you this. That O-line will go down. You know how you talk about doomsday? This offensive line is one of the greatest offensive lines in pro football history. It is not being given enough credit because you know why? I'm going to tell you something that really sucks. And I never knew that they were Philly biased. You know, just like in college football, there's West Coast bias or East Coast bias. If this offensive line was in Dallas, they would be calling this line the greatest offensive line in pro football history. But because it's in Philly, they don't recognize it. They don't recognize it enough. Stoutland would make a killing if he really established a Stoutland University. Imagine people paying Stoutland to teach them how to evaluate and develop O-line. Shit, he'd make a – dude, if Peyton Manning can make a ton of money with the Manning quarterback schools, can you imagine what Stoutland would make developing? I would – if I was Manny – if I was Mario Diaz – or excuse me, if I was Mario Cristobal and I was the head football coach of the Miami Hurricanes, I would send my offensive lineman, and I would pay for it, to Jeff Stoutland and let Jeff Stoutland. By the way, Stoutland was a University of Miami coach at one time. I would send all my guys to Jeff Stoutland in the offseason just to have them go up to his camp. I would totally do that. He could make a killing. He would make a killing. You imagine him having like a camp in Philly and all the pro – dude, you know how many pro guys would come watch him and come to his camp? It'd be pro and college kids. Everybody from around the country would go to his school. I would. If I was a high school offensive lineman and Jeff Stoutland was teaching something, I went to Joe Namath's full contact camp. He used to have this camp in Quinnipiac, Connecticut, at the University of Quinnipiac. And I would go up there. And you know why I went there? It was full contact. Hell, I was defensive player of the camp. You know who taught me? Sugar Bear Hamilton, who was a defensive line coach, a defensive player with the Patriots. Winston Hill, who was a former offensive lineman with the Jets. Vil Villapiano, who was a linebacker with the Raiders. And Randy White were all at this camp teaching me how to play linebacker and defensive line. It was the greatest 2 weeks I ever had. It was like 10 days. And I went up there. It was one of the very few full contact camps. And I don't know, I was like my sophomore year going into my junior year. I had 15 sacks that year because those guys were teaching me all kinds of crazy shit. Okay, so they're teaching me pass rush moves that I didn't know in high school. I went to that camp. Dude, they had John Bosco from the New Jersey area go up to this thing. People from Alabama went up. It was crazy. There were guys all over the place. Villapiano was nuts. It was a great hang. All right, hour 3. We're going to reset. Also, I want to talk about Andy Reid a little bit and get your opinion on Andy Reid. Hit the like button. Hour 3. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.
Why do millions of people every year from around the world visit Philly's Rocky statue?
You want to tell me the sky is burgundy with green stripes and yellow polka dots? I'll meet you on that. But you're never going to convince me Rocky is anything other than the pure greatness that it is. Never going to happen.
Join me, Paul Farber, for WHYY's The Statue. We're going on a journey to explore the biography of the Rocky statue. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Delval Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Hour number 3, National Football Show. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Please hit the like button. Thank you guys again for coming aboard. I'll say it one more time to you here. I think Super Bowl experience is overrated and overhyped. I don't believe it. Kansas City's been to now their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. So what? I saw the Philadelphia Eagles beat the piss out of an experienced Patriots team at 17. I saw the Cowboys beat the shit out of the Buffalo Bills, who had been to previous Super Bowls. Did it matter? No. I think it's an overhyped thing. Are you trying to tell me you really think when it gets to Sun, that's a lesser football team, Kansas City, than their first appearance with Andy Reid? Do we all agree? That team doesn't. How about this when I say this? Mahomes is somebody you have to account for, and along with Kelsey. Dude, but that team's not the same team. There's no Honey Badger. There's no Tyreek Hill. That's a lesser team. Am I right? That's a lesser team in Kansas City than the first Super Bowl. It's a lesser team. That's not the same team of 2 years ago. It's not the same team. So, I don't know. I mean, Kansas City, does Andy Reid's experience of losing Super Bowls frighten me? Isn't there more pressure on Andy Reid than Nick Sirianni? Nick Sirianni's in his first Super Bowl. Not saying he gets a hall pass, but Andy Reid has failed in these. Hey, let me be fair here a little bit to Jalen Hurts here. Jalen Hurts has not played well in the postseason in any game so far in his NFL career. He's not. He's not. Andy Reid really hasn't coached that hot. I'm going to give you the numbers here. So Andy Reid in Philadelphia, his record was 10-9 in the postseason. Is that successful? I guess. A lot of, but you know how I look at Andy Reid in Philly? Lost opportunities. Do you guys look at it any different? Because I know some people like to look at things through rose-colored glasses. I look at that and go, I think that's lost opportunities. Am I right when I say that? Damon goes, like I said earlier, how is playing equivalent to how a pocket passer plays when you manage the game? I'm not sure what your angle is on that. Don't you think Andy Reid had lost opportunities in Philly? Would you say he was a success? Watch this. Here's one better. How many people think Andy Reid was a success in Philadelphia? Here, let's do this. Who do you think had more success in Philly? Doug Peterson or Andy Reid? Who had more success? I think it's a fair question. And one guy spent a ton of years less. Reid had more success than Doug Peterson? Really? I'll tell you what. Doug's proven he's a better coach than what people thought. He just won a division title in his first year in Jacksonville. And he's gone to two great franchises, the Chiefs and the Eagles. In Philly, we are a Super Bowl or bust. So by that metric, it's Doug. That's what Tone says. Doug is the beginning of the greatest era in Eagle football. Andy was a reminder to all Eagle fans on what could have been. Andy made you anxious. Doug made you confident. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong here. Andy made you nervous as a coach, didn't he? Doug made you confident as a coach. I would take Doug Peterson over Andy Reid in a big game any day, any night. He's a better coach. He's a better coach. Doug's a better coach than Andy Reid. He's 11-7 in Kansas City. If he loses this game, he'll be 21-17 in the postseason with a .540 win percentage. Okay. Hall of Fame coach? I guess. Whatever that metric is. I'll take Doug over Andy Reid any day. That's why I say this to you. That coaching advantage that I thought was in Kansas City over Sirianni and his group, I don't think it exists. As successful as Andy was, I never trusted him. I don't care how stable he made the franchise look back then. Yeah, it's because of his situational play calling. No one's ever had confidence in it. I think even people in Kansas City have issues with it. Andy's better than Sirianni? Well, Sirianni's been to 2 playoffs in a row. And he lets his players. Let me tell you the two things that these two coaches do that is really good. Let me tell you what they do, okay? And this is what I think. What makes Sirianni and his staff maybe better. Or how about this? Where that coaching advantage isn't that glaring. Would we not agree both of these coaches in this game on Sunday allow their players to be them and they don't try to change them? How many bosses have you ever had when you get hired to a new place? In broadcasting, I have had 1,000 of these guys. They hire you, but automatically want to add, change, do things because they think they're going to reinvent the wheel. We see this all the time with coaches. They always try to reinvent the wheel. Instead of taking what you have in front of you and you changing, you try changing people around you. That's not a way of coaching. You look at what you have in the room and you formulate a system around those players. That's what Sirianni's staff has done to Jalen Hurts. And it's been profitable and it's successful. Is it a mastermind John Gruden offense? How about this? Jalen Hurts. Do you guys agree with this? Jalen Hurts would fail massively in a John Gruden offense. He would fail massively. For that matter, I think Patrick Mahomes would fail massively in a John Gruden offense. Did it ever wonder why he always had stiff quarterbacks? Tim Rattay, Jeff Garcia. Derek Carr was the best and highest drafted guy he ever had. The rest of them, Brad Johnson. Love Brad, but they weren't world beaters. You had to play within that system. He never built a system for that guy. You either played with what John put on the chalkboard or you didn't play. Jalen Hurts would have failed miserably in a John Gruden offense. I mean, they put together offenses for their respected talents. That's what makes these two guys great. They're not changing. Dude, you don't want Patrick Mahomes changing anything he does. You want to kind of like pull him off the ledge a little bit, and nor do you want to change anything Jalen does. What you want to do is get these guys more reps, get them better players around them, keep adding great players to the conversation. That's what you're trying to do to these guys. You're not trying to change them one bit. I'm like, watch this. The worst thing, somebody keeps asking the question, Sills, if Steichen leaves, what kind of coordinator would you have? I'd elevate the quarterback coach to my coordinator. I don't want to change anything. I don't want a guy with a different idea coming in here. And that includes Frank Reich. I don't want any of that. I love Frank. You know that. I would never want to change anything with Hurts right now because it's working. $85 goes, Dan, how do the Eagles stop Mahomes from that sidearm shovel plays? You can't. They're unscripted. He's a great unscripted player. You can't stop that. Actually, can I tell you what I would do, 85? Don't let him get out in the perimeter. Keep him in the box. I think he makes more plays in the perimeter. I think when he breaks contain and he gets outside the quarterback pocket, I think he's more dangerous out there because he sees downfield. He's always looking downfield. He's got a great grasp of the field downfield. He sees it. I think you got to keep him more in the box than let him get out in the box. See, Aaron Rodgers, to me, I think teams, what they did this year to Aaron Rodgers, they kept him in the pocket more. Aaron Rodgers, man, moving around outside the pocket, I always thought Aaron Rodgers was tougher outside the pocket than when he was inside the pocket. So when I look at him, I look at him, you got to keep him contained. Okay? You got to keep him contained. I don't think so because he's a lot better of a passing quarterback than you think. He doesn't need design plays. Damon, he's not a great passer of the ball. One guy almost had the entire target sheet this year. That was A.J. Brown. Over half of the throws went to him. Think about that. Over half of the throws. 3 dudes were in the offense this year. Great years. I think and by the way, he's improved, but he doesn't have the arm that Herbert or Allen or Burrow or Mahomes has. He doesn't have that arm. He's never had it. And he most likely never will. Lamar Jackson doesn't have it. And he led the NFL in touchdown passes. Jalen's never going to lead the NFL in touchdown passes. It's not what he does. It's not what that offense is designed to do. That offense is designed to start with the run game. Those other teams start with the pass game. And for the record, if Jalen Hurts had one tight end on his team and a bunch of dudes, the team's 9-8. Jalen's not carrying a football team without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on it, or Miles Sanders, or 3 Pro Bowl players in the O-line. He's not. It's not an indictment on him. It's more to what Mahomes can do with his team when he loses talent. Okay? He's not that guy. Neither is Lamar. Okay? Neither is Lamar. And see, here's the problem that you get when you start throwing $53 million around. Okay, when you throw $53 million around, you start losing players. You think he's going to be able to have the same success? And he's going to do and break single-season passing records and put 14 wins up with less talent on the roster? Your quarterback sucked in the playoffs. You're not going to have that affordability and latitude. He's going to have to play great every game. If he doesn't play great every game, you're not winning with a lesser roster. This team is the best roster that I've seen going to a Super Bowl in a long time. It's not because of the quarterback. It's because of the roster. The quarterback hasn't done shit in the playoffs. Again, it's a fact. It's not an indictment on him. Okay? He's playing for the Super Bowl because the defense has been outstanding. And the run game, not the passing game. And some of you will go, well, he hasn't had to. No shit. He hadn't played anybody that threatened you. The Giants weren't going to threaten anyone, and nor were a quarterback-less 49er team going to threaten you. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen were. Again, it's what happened. That's why when I pointed out when we started the show, the Eagles have only played against 5 teams that are in the upper echelon in offense this year. The rest of those teams, they were in the lower third. So when you look at the numbers about pass defense, yeah, you're going to have a great pass defense against David Mills and Kenny Pickett and Andy Dalton and Daniel Jones and Tyler Heineke and Cooper Rush. We're not talking about the high-end guys who could carry a football team with lesser talent. It's just what it is. I'm just saying. That's why you have to temper when people are looking at the Eagle defense going, well, again, are they really? And the teams that were the 5 teams, they scored 30 on you. It's not biased, dude. It's facts. It's got nothing to do with being biased. You sound like Skip's talking about Mahomes last year. I don't know what you're talking about. Mahomes lost talent on the offense, has no running game, and broke the single-season passing record and had the same amount of wins as you. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You could never take Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith off that offense and Jalen put up any kind of success. You really think that? Wow. So you think you would have moved the chains with Zach Pascal and Quez Watkins and Dallas Goedert? You would have won 14 games with Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, and Dallas Goedert with no Miles Sanders, AJ, or Devontae. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I do not believe that at all. Okay? That kid broke records with dudes at wideout and no run game. I mean, the running back this year was a rookie, had 830 yards. He only had 130 yards more than what Jalen did this year. And then you got to take the guys in the O-line out of the building. $53 million is going to affect that a lot. You're going to lose a ton of dudes. And we're going to find out. You're going to do exactly what Dallas did. And we'll see what happens. So far, I haven't seen any team have success with it. And again, this is what the NFL wants. They don't want dynasties like New England. They don't. So when you pay Jalen 45 to whatever $1 million a year, and you start looking like Dallas where you start losing players, shit, man, Buffalo's going to go through it. They're not going to have Stephon Diggs on that team this coming year. Absolutely not. They're not having a $25 million guy. They need a running back, and they're going to go with Jimmy's and Joe's at wideout, same way Kansas City is. That's what you do. Green Bay lost Devontae Adams. That's exactly what's going to happen. You can deny it all you want. I have facts and track record of the league to back my facts up. You just got wishful thinking and thinking you know that the team's going to stay intact. It's not. That's the reality of it. When you pay someone, you're in the Super Bowl because Jalen Hurts played at an MVP level and he makes no money. Only reason. Only reason. Okay? Because if he was making any money, you wouldn't have that team. It wouldn't resemble what you're not getting CJ Gardner. By the way, Bradbury's walking. From what I'm understanding, he's getting out in the open market. He's going to go for $16 million. Howie's not paying that. So you're drafting a corner, in my opinion, at 10. Okay? They're drafting a corner at 10. By the way, if Jalen wins the Super Bowl, that's got nothing to do with the price tag. Your team will be cut in half. If he wins the Super Bowl and you pay him 45 to 50, it's over. You think you're going to watch this. Here. And again, that's why this is so important to win this thing. You got a $10 million center. You got a $20 million left tackle, a $20 million right tackle. You got a guard you're going to have to cut loose because he's going to make $10, $12 million in the open market, Sayamalo. So you're going to have to draft a guard, and Dickerson makes $5 million. Well, shit, man. You got $50 million and 5 guys there. Well, counting Dickerson, you got $60 million in 5 guys. 60. Your receiver makes 25. That's $85 million. It's only 224 cap. And you want to pay your guy, let's say 50, like you guys say. So there's $75 million of your salary cap in 7 players. There's 53 dudes on the team. And I haven't even gotten to the offense yet. Wait, your tight end makes 12. That's 87. Your rookie receiver, Devontae, makes 3. That's 90. You got 90. You got $100 million in like 7 players. And you want to pay Jalen 50? Yeah, you tell me, right? Well, Howie ain't doing shit. Only went up $16 million this year. Cap only went up 16. You make it sound like the cap's going up $50 million. That ain't happening. Okay? Big Sills. The Jalen of today has improved big time. No question. No question. And it's why we're having this conversation, Peter, because if he played like he did a year ago, there is no conversation. You're drafting a quarterback. If Jalen of the current skill played in 2021, they'd finish 12-4, not 9-8. No, he wouldn't. Because you don't have the same skill around him. You don't have the same skill around him. A.J. Brown is 44% of the passing offense. Take that away. He's 3rd in the league in that number. Do you know that? A.J. Brown was 44.31% of the passing offense. Really? Okay. Wishful thinking. Okay? Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. This is the best team has been set up going forward for a long time. No, it's not set. How do you think you got 4 guys on offense under contract, Scott? How was that set up? You got 4 current guys under contract on offense out of 11. Your entire secondary is up for renewal. How are you set up? Where are you set up? You don't have guys on rookie contracts on defense. Scott, you got four guys under current contract on offense. I disagree with you. I have the facts. You don't. Again, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Shields, do you think AJ goes over 100 Sunday? Chad, I don't. I think they go over 200 yards rushing against Kansas City. I can't see Kansas City stopping their run attack. I can't see them stopping their short yardage offense. Who is going to stop AJ in the red zone on jump balls in the Super Bowl? Who are you putting on him? A rookie? Good luck. Because then you got Goddard down there. I think Kansas City's going to have a big-time issue. If we're going to know the tempo of the game immediately, okay, we're going to know the tempo. If the Eagles are moving the sticks, running the ball, long night. Kansas City will have less plays. They'll probably keep them around 55 plays. If they keep them under 60 plays, Kansas City's going to be throttled. Okay? And watch this. If they run for 200 yards and Jalen throws for 150, 2 touchdowns and runs for 70 yards, he'll still win the MVP. Because they're not going to give it to the O-line. They'll give it to the quarterback because the quarterback directed it. Jalen's not going to have, if they run the ball the way I think they're going to, they're running at a 208 a clip right now in the postseason. And that was against a better, watch this, the 49er defense is better than Kansas City's defense. Would we not agree? Okay? Would we not agree that the 49ers defense is better, okay, is better than Kansas City's? Well, they ran the ball for 181. And that's what I'm saying to you. 49ers have a better defense. Linebackers, great player, Warner. Boza, the Hufanga kid in the secondary. They got it. And they held the Eagles to 239 in offense, but 181 of it was running it. I don't know. That's the thing I think. Tone and I were talking before the start of the show. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. And like I said, the keys to the game, can the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagle pass rush? No. Will Chris Jones be a disruptor? What would make me think that? They have shut down every top-flight defensive player this year. Get this. If you're the defensive player of the year candidate in the NFL, don't play an Eagle line because they'll humble you. They humbled Parsons. They humbled Simmons. They humbled Lawrence. They humbled Boza. Dude, I don't know. Chris Jones, he's a really good ball player. He ain't any better than any of them guys. Like, Chris Jones ain't Reggie White. Don't make him out to be. I don't think Chris Jones is better than Nick Bosa. That's right, Tone. Tone goes, I can't give Chris Jones that much credit for going off on the Bengal O-line. They had 3 dudes in the O-line that were substitute teachers. I agree. I'm like, I think Chris Jones, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, take advantage of weakness. Well, there's no weakness in that Eagle O-line. Okay? Dude, Mahomes is going to have to throw for 550 yards, and Kelsey's going to have to be 200 yards. One of the backs are going to have a monster game for them to beat them. I mean, one of those backs. Now, could they have a screen game that could give the Eagles problems? The Eagles have struggled with screen game and tight ends all year. You know why they really haven't seen a lot of quarterbacks throw the screen game? Because they haven't played against a lot of good quarterbacks this year. They played against maybe 2. So they're going against a guy who's elite. And last year, They ran for 200 yards. Now, again, it's a different unit. I get it. Remember something. Jonathan Gannon's not a better coordinator than he was a year ago. He's got better players. It's the same philosophy, and it's the same dude. He's not impressive to me. Shane Steichen's not impressive. Those coaches on the Eagles side are not impressive. What is good about them, they know who their guys are, and they let them be them. A lot of coaches don't allow that. They got a system. They want you to run it. It's square peg, round hole shit. Plug and play kind of stuff, and it never works. That's why Mike Nolan, look at what Mike Nolan did when he was the D coordinator of the Cowboys. When he was the D coordinator of the Cowboys, he had this stupid-ass system that was archaic. They bring in Dan Quinn. Quinn goes, well, we got this guy here. Remember something. They didn't know that Micah Parsons was a great pass rusher until Lawrence got injured. They didn't know that. All of a sudden, they put him down and put his hand in the ground, and this guy's pass rushing. They found out he was a good pass rusher by accident. Okay? We need to keep Mahomes off the field, correct? And you also can't go screen if you don't have time for the screens. The late screens, dude, they're going to slow the pass rush down with screens. Screens is a rhythm play. And Damon goes like this. Damon goes, well, unless you have time to do that. Are you under some impression that Jonathan Gannon is going to bring pressure right away on Mahomes? I don't. I think he's going to sit back in that zone defense and he's going to play passive because he may have been aggressive with, guess what, Christian McCaffrey at quarterback or Daniel Jones. He's not going to be aggressive with Mahomes. Mahomes will lead him up. Who do you feel comfortable with? Mahomes versus Gannon or Gannon versus Mahomes? Who do you feel comfortable with? You really think that Gannon is going to outschool Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in a game? Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. They can't run screens all game. No, they can't, but they're going to slow you down, the pass rush. They're going to use the screen game to get Kelsey open. Look, one thing Andy is great at, he's a great designer of plays, scripted though. That sometimes is his Achilles. They're scripted. Watch this. What makes Reid and Mahomes such a dynamic fit? Like, I'm gonna make a comparison to you. Okay? I'm gonna make a comparison to you. I think Mahomes and Reid are in the same class with Walsh in Montana. And here's why. Montana ad-libbed on the run. Joe, earlier in his career, was always moving out in the perimeter. And Walsh had a spread offense and the West Coast offense and wanted to keep things more tailor-made. Joe was able to ad-lib things. That pass in the back of the end zone against the Cowboys that won the NFC Championship to catch, that was Montana. That wasn't anything Walsh scripted. Shit, Walsh wanted him to throw it away. He saw Clark in the back of the end zone and threw it to him. Threw it on Everson Walsh. I asked Walsh. Walsh goes, I thought he was throwing it away. Walsh was a teammate of mine. Mahomes is such an off-script player, and Andy's such a script player. These guys were made for one another. See, McNabb in Philly went by the script. And Andy, again, lost opportunity. Now he's got a guy in Kansas City that they mesh together. They're each other's fault. He needs to be reined in. Andy needs to have a little bit more ad-libbing to his play calling. That's why Kansas City looks so good passing the ball. It's because they go together. They mesh together. Okay? You got a guy who's better at libbing, and he keeps them boxed in a little more. You got a guy who comes off a play sheet like this, who's more this, right? And you got a guy running around for his life throwing left-handed touchdown passes. Is he ambidextrous? You're like, Jesus Christ, this guy does things you've never seen. Neil goes, so describe Hurts and Sirianni. What they've done to him is it's all on Jalen. There's no relationship between Steichen and Hurts. This is what they say. Watch this. This is what they say to Hurts. Here's the RPO. It's up to you. That's play calling? That's why when they handed the game plan to Gardner Minshew, it was a disaster. You're running RPOs with a guy who runs a 5 flat? Who in their right mind would do that? Except a coach who's really not been calling plays all year. That's why Gardner Minshew looked like shit. They gave him Jalen Hurts' game plan. What? That's not play calling. That's not play calling. Okay? So the relationship is trust in Philly. It's trust. You trust Jalen to make the right decisions on the RPO. Herm Edwards agreed. They trust Jalen's decision-making. That's not play calling. That's confidence in your player. Okay? That has nothing to do with play calling. Go ahead. Here's the play. If you see this, do this. If you see that, it's up to you. Play calling? You could do that. Now, Jalen's success and the team's success builds up that trust. I'll give Steichen and Sirianni and the coaching staff a lot of kudos for this. We got to trust the kid, or we're going to be screwed. You cannot put Jalen Hurts in a system like John Gruden's and expect success. He's not going to sit back and drop back 45 times with lesser talent at $50 million. He's not. He's not breaking single-season passing records without players around him. Mahomes has nobody around him but Kelsey. Bunch of dudes. And a pretty decent O-line. I wouldn't call it great. Watch this. I think the 49er O-line is better too there. I think the 49ers have a better O-line and D-line than what Kansas City has. It's a better roster. I told you, I think the two best rosters that were in the Final Four were in the NFC title game. And Hassan Reddick wrecked that game and put the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Either team was going to win the Super Bowl. If Purdy doesn't get hurt, and let's just say they win, they were going to beat Kansas City too. I don't think Kansas City doesn't have anybody. Who's going to stop Christian McCaffrey on that team? Who was going to stop Kittle on that team? Who was going to stop Deebo Samuel? It's the same thing about the Eagles. Who's going to stop AJ? Who's going to stop Devontae? Who's going to stop Goddard? Who's going to stop Miles Sanders? Same thing. They got nobody but Kelsey and Mahomes. I don't see it. I think, like I said, the two best teams, in my opinion, played in the NFC title game. I think Reddick is going to run around Orlando Brown. I think he's overrated. So when I watch Orlando Brown play, dude, that guy's not better than Jordan Mailata. He's clearly not better than Lane or Trent Williams. I think he's a big mouth who gets beat on the edge. And if you get beat on the edge against an edge rusher like Hassan Reddick, he could have 3.5 sacks in this game. Now, the only reason he may not have that is because Mahomes is healthier than what people are saying. Okay? "5573 goes 3 sacks, Super Bowl MVP. Hard for defensive guys. Who's the last defensive guy to win the MVP award? Who was the last defensive guy? Is it Ray Lewis? Is Ray the last guy to win the MVP award? Von Miller, that's right. Von won it in Denver. That's right, Von did. I think Ray won one too, if I'm not mistaken. I think Ray won. But Von Miller, right, in Denver, because Manning sucked. He wasn't very good in that Super Bowl. No, LT never won MVP. Sims and O.J. Anderson during that era won the MVP awards for the Giants and Parcells. Haley never won a Super Bowl MVP. Von Miller did. Dexter Jackson won one too. Very good, Real. That's right. Dexter Jackson won one with the Bucks. That year, the Super Bowl, the Bucks won the Super Bowl. Dexter Jackson was the MVP. Seals, who's better, Allen now or 17 Hurts? 17 Hurt. Well, Wentz. Because he didn't have many turnovers. I don't think in 17. I don't think he had a lot of turnovers in 17. Maybe 7. Josh Allen's got to clean that up. And he's got to he can't take the hits. Okay? He can't take the hits, in my opinion. I think Reed chips Reddick. I can guarantee you this. They're not going to put a tight end on Hassan Reddick. I do not believe they're going to put a tight end on Hassan Reddick. I think they're going to put a tackle on him. Okay? D goes, get the tone. I want to get tone first. Last 4 defensive guys to win the MVP. Von Miller, Malcolm Smith, Seattle, Dexter Jackson, Ray Lewis. So it's possible. Hassan's been the MVP for the Eagles in the postseason so far. He's played exceptional. Exceptional. So what'd you do if the Chiefs try Bears RPO defense crashing down on the running back and looping a linebacker around for Jalen? But that means that Goddard's open. Block. I call block and release. Goddard will have a huge game. So, okay. So if you spy Jalen, who's guarding Goddard? Goddard will go for 200 yards in this game. That's why I say the tight ends are going to be essential in this ball game. Okay? What to do with both of them? Eagles can't cover Kelsey. You don't have anybody to cover Kelsey. You don't have anybody to cover him. And I don't believe that the Chiefs have anybody to cover Goddard. Comes down to the quarterback play. Who's the quarterback? Mahomes is better. Goddard is a factor. I think Dallas Goedert is too. I think he is going to be a handful for KC to block and cover. I mean, he is going to be a handful. Do you think anyone gets interceptions? I think the Eagles have a better chance of getting interceptions because the Eagles don't play high percentage turnover passes. They don't throw the ball like that, especially if they can run it. D, thank you so much. Neil, he's a perfect fit for that offense, Goddard. Goddard excels. Block Reddick with a backup tight end. Man, no way. Dude, every time people are he's been shot out of a bullet as of late. He really has. All right, let me take a timeout. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Postgame Show with Seth Joyner,
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn,
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney,
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
and Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Postgame, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.
Why do millions of people every year from around the world visit Philly's Rocky statue?
You want to tell me the sky is burgundy with green stripes and yellow polka dots? I'll meet you on that. But you're never going to convince me Rocky is anything other than the pure greatness that it is. Never going to happen.
Join me, Paul Farber, for WHYY's The Statue. We're going on a journey to explore the biography of the Rocky statue. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
National Football Show. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Thank you again. A lot of people, again, looking at, and I hear everyone talking about, like, well, Mahomes is the difference. Once again, I'll ask you this question. Would you rather have a better roster or the better quarterback in a game like this? What would you rather have? Tone, what would you rather have? The better quarterback or the better team? I'd rather have the better team. That's why people are enamored with Mahomes. He's great. Guy's the face of the league. He is the face of the league. He is the face of the league. Okay? Okay? I'd rather have the roster. Roster always. Because Kansas City has no way of defending all the players that the Eagles have right now. Better team. Because my quarterback is serviceable, my other players can elevate him. And again, that's exactly what's happened with the Eagles in the postseason. Quarterback hasn't played well. Everyone else around him pretty much has. Hassan's been off the charts. Sayamalo and Kelsey have been great. The defensive tackles have been playing great. The O-line is having their best run these 2 last games against really good fronts. Here's the key to this. The Giants don't have anything offense. Watch this. Saquon Barkley and then what in New York? But the Giants have a formidable D-line. And the Eagles shut them down. 49ers, the quarterback, once he was out, the offensive guys were nullified. But what do they have? They got a good D-line. The Eagles shut them down. That O-line has dominated the football postseason so far. It's been nobody else. The receivers haven't done shit. The running game will kind of. But it's been that O-line. Dude, at the end of the football game, at the end of the game against the Niners, they were running through these gigantic holes that nobody was touching them. That's the O-line dominating. Okay? Look at what Tone just said. Rumor is the Giants are prepared to pay Jones $35 million per year. Why? If I'm going to pay $35 million a year, give me Garoppolo. At least he wins. He's 49-17. You're going to pay Daniel Jones? Man, Eagles are going to own the East forever. They're going to own it. So you're going to have Daniel Jones and Dak and what in Washington? Shit, man. Eagles have nothing to worry about. Remember something. You build your football team not to win Super Bowls in the offseason. You get to the Super Bowl by winning your division. And the Eagles have the best quarterback in the division and the best roster in the division. That's how you win Super Bowls. Nobody builds a team to try to win a Super Bowl. They build it to win their division and dominate. And if you dominate your division, you get home field, you're in the tournament, and it puts you in the Super Bowl. The Cowboys are always worried about winning Super Bowls. They can't even win their own division. Got to win your division, dude. Got to win your division. Starts there. One of the reasons that the Patriots were so dominant during the Brady era, did anybody threaten New England ever in the East? Did anybody ever threaten the Patriots in the AFC East? A couple of years, the Jets with Rex, they had a couple of teams. Dolphins 1 year, Brady got hurt. Other than that, they owned it. How about even when Montana played in the NFC West? Was anybody threatening them? No. Shit, the NFC West sucked back then when, well, the Rams were decent, but everyone else stunk. You got to win that division. And the Eagles by far have the best roster in the East. Cowboys are going to be worse. The Giants might get better, but with Daniel Jones at $35 million, good luck. Dude, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm going to laugh at that. You're going to pay Daniel Jones $35 million off of 1 year where he was marginal. Maybe Jalen is worth 45 because he wasn't marginal. Daniel Jones is going to get 35. The Giants will be back in the toilet again. He's not good. And then get this. If you paid Daniel Jones 35, are you letting Barkley walk? His contract's up too. So the Giants are going to take Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. Okay, I guess. Look at everyone. I hope they paid that. Dude, Daniel Jones. So they're going to keep Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley? I guess. I don't know. Dude, I would say this to you. Saquon Barkley's going to be on the open market with Miles Sanders. It tells you about the running back position. So they're going to let Barkley go because they're going to pay – well, maybe the reason that they think they could pay Barkley $10 million is because they're not paying their quarterback $45, I guess. I guess that's how they're probably going to look at it. If I'm the Giants, I let Jones walk, sign Jimmy G, and find another quarterback in the draft. Amen. That guy wins games, man. Daniel Jones doesn't. I mean, good luck. Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Dude, tomorrow's Super Bowl Friday. You getting a little nervous? Super Bowl Friday tomorrow. Guys, you're great. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button. Philly 500 was on, and so was Herm Edwards. Go back and watch him. We appreciate you doing that. God bless you guys. Xander, thank you. Tone, you're absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Till tomorrow, 3 to 6, and we shall see you on the flip side.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog.